Ready, set, go.
Yeah, whole team on a loose. Kick it up like Kung Fu. Untamed, yeah, cool. Running plays like who knew. Hella fast when I slide through. You would've thought we was in a zoo. Engine roar like a lion do. Devil, I'm a damn fool. Switching lanes, hanging out the roof. Tires screech when I bend the corner. All you see is a big poof. Then I'm leaving my initials. Street marks, I'm official. Taking off like a missile. You can hear the wind whistle.
Yeah, I don't think they ready. I don't really think they want it. I don't think they ready. Hey, yeah, I don't think they ready. I don't really think they want it. I don't think they ready. Ready, set, go. 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 Ready, set, go. 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 Yeah, ready, set, go.
Get into it like pronto, get hit with a combo. Do it large, real jumbo, so dirty like gumbo. Big money in a two-seater, hair blowing, you see her. I got her, you need her. Never would I wanna be and I've been grinding all of my life. Now look at my sights, mile high, I'm fly. Ride till I die. Look how I arrive, like the president inside. See the look in their eyes.
I don't think they ready. I don't really think they want it. I don't think they ready. Yeah, I don't think they ready. I don't really think they want it. I don't think they ready. Ready, set, go.
Ready, set, go. Let's go.
Go.
On your mark.
Go.
Yeah.
Ready, set, go.
Ready, set,
Go.
on your mark.
Go.
Let's go.
Go. Yeah. Ready, set, go.
Yeah, and you know I like big coupes. Two-seater with the missing roof. Run a meter to a can't boot. I'm the best, got them all mute. Break the bank, talking big loot. Business talk, making big moves. Full tank, no I can't lose. Left them in the dust confused. All I ever did was break rules. Full throttle, I don't like cruise. Guess I got a couple screws loose. Son devil, I'm a damn fool. Ain't no telling what I might do. Taking off like a missile. Street marks, I'm official.
Yeah, I don't think they ready. I don't really think they want it. I don't think they ready. Hey, yeah, I don't think they ready. I don't really think they want it. I don't think they ready. Ready, set, go.
Ready, set,
Go.
let's go.
Go.
On your mark.
Go.
Yeah.
Ready, set, go.
Ready, set,
Go.
on your mark.
Go.
Let's go.
Go. Ready, set, go. 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 Ready, set, go. 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 Ready, set, go. Go. Ready, set, go.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ward Radio live stream. I am your host, Cardin Ellis. I saw this on a TV show once, and I want to do this. I am your host, Cardin Ellis. I don't know. I did it wrong. It was like, isn't that in The Incredibles, how they open with The Incredibles? I don't remember. But anyway, I am your host, Cardin Ellis. I'm joined today in the studio by Brittany the Shadow, as well as by Brittany the Shadow's McDonald's cup. Dr. Pepper.
Oh, sorry. It's actually Del Taco.
Oh, it's Del Taco, yes. And by studio guest today, Loren Dean, who is director, chairman of the California Libertarian Party. And I just got to tell you right now, I'm angry. With what's happened with Charlie Kirk's assassination, I find myself deeply affected. I remember listening on the progressive local talk station. They got their funding from NPR. They got all of the original. They got all of the original soundtrack in the 60s when Medgar Evers was assassinated, and it's very interesting seeing how what was perceivably the anger and the frustration on the left now being mirrored almost word for word in the way some people spoke. Now on the right, and so I empathize with that, right? And I'm angry. But today, Loren Dean, almost out of nowhere, so I consider it a blessing from God, texts me and says, hey, I'm a friend of Richard Stafford. You've spoken with him on the show about other, libertarian issues in the past and so on and so forth. And he said, I think there's never a better time to be talking about peacemaking. And so I thought, man, all of us remember, he's threatened to keep making them until we start listening. But all of us remember the infamous Peacemakers Needed General Conference talk given by our beloved prophet, President Russell M. Nelson. But we may struggle in figuring out how we actually apply that into our daily lives. Being Christ-like is indeed a noble goal, but what is the actual practicality of that? We don't know. So Loren has agreed to step up and give us his opinions and speak on this, introduce himself, talk a little bit about his career, his ideology, his party, his musings, shall we say, and hopefully get us a little bit closer from this angry guy to this not so angry guy. And I think that's a noble aspiration. So if you're joining our live stream here, this is a chill Friday night. Hit us up with a super chat. We will gladly respond. But we're going to try and be practical today. And I get that for some people, this may be boring. For some people, this may not be as exciting. But I think, hey, some of the best things in life sometimes are not. And we just got to get through them. We're going to get through them together. So anyway, we may be joined later on by one Jim Bennett, who made a really lovely post that I retweeted today. And I know that's a hard pill for some people to swallow, but I think it was actually a really good touch point, and we're going to go over it. And he might even join us later on if his family endeavors allow. With that said, also, we would like to excuse the ward clerk from his duties. I asked him if he could live stream with us today. And he said he couldn't because he was at a youth fireside. And I said, pics or it isn't happening. And boy, did he deliver in the most unflattering way. So unflattering that I just thought, we just had to share that. I thought it was funny. And then also in lighter news, we're very pleased to announce that none other than the greatest advertisement of Mormonism on Hulu in the past 10 years. Taylor Frankie. Hey, hold on. Taylor Frankie Paul is the next. She's the next Bachelorette. All right. Hey, she's looking gorgeous right there, babe.
Sure,
she's
pretty.
Yeah.
Next.
Now, you have to be. Look, she looks very attractive in this photo. She's been Kardashianed a little bit. I think she's stunning. I would struggle knowing that like she's literally a swinging homewrecker.
She broke up some marriages. She has 2 baby daddies. She has 3 kids. Her youngest is maybe a year.
I mean,
and now she's going. And this is what bugs me: internet clout. Like,
but maybe this time she'll find true love.
For some people, it just becomes a cancer. Like Governor Cox said, social media is a cancer.
I say you go, girl.
Clout could be a cancer. Like, she spouts all day long on TikTok about how she just needs to find herself and she's going to take a break from dating. So her idea was to go on a dating show and date 20 people at the same time.
And
like, give me a break.
Here we are talking about
Give me
her.
a break. I'm sure the paycheck is going to be worth it.
And here we are talking about her.
Gosh,
talking about her. And now I've come around on this. It used to bother me. I've come around on this, but I noticed this today. This was actually interesting. I'm going to throw this up in the Discord right now as we speak. But this on our live stream this morning was what was trending on Twitter. Okay, no matter there's a great quote by Brigham Young that literally says, like, every time the people try and kick the saints when they're down, they kick them upstairs, or they kick it upstairs. What's that famous quote by Brigham Young that you can only kick the gospel upstairs? Like I'm gonna look it up.
I have no idea.
I'm not familiar,
look
but
it
it sounds Brigham Young-y.
Yeah, it sounds Brigham Young-y. This is what was trending this morning on Twitter. Mormon with 17.5K posts in the top 4 of what was trending on Twitter. And whether we like it or not, even though the Book of Mormon musical was a frustrating mockery of Mormonism, there's a lot of people that got baptized and got to know the church because of it that wouldn't have otherwise. And it seems to have been a net positive due to our biggest struggle in North America, which is actually relevance.
Yeah, so Taylor Frankie Paul is doing God's work out here? I don't think so.
You know, I mean,
gross. Give me a break.
I'm not going to say that she's a decorated missionary, but I will say, you know, there's oh no, wrong picture's coming up. Here we go. Boom. I'm not saying she's a decorated missionary, but put a name tag on her. She'd be a hot sister missionary.
It depends on what she says
Square.
about the church.
I'm just kidding. Yes, you're right. I mean,
gosh, can we talk about something else? I'm so angry right now.
She could go work the visitor center in San Diego. She could be in period costume from the Mormon Battalion. Have you been down there? You've been to San Diego?
Yes, I have. It's actually really cool. I'm just saying, from a sheer relevance standpoint, people will be talking about Mormonism. And I think that's a net positive. Whether it's a frustrating net positive or not is a completely different story.
But you think it's because of Taylor Frankie Paul?
I think there's a lot of conversations that will be started because now Taylor Frankie Paul is going to be in the spotlight. It's going to start a lot of conversations. People are going to be frustrated that she's a representative of Mormonism because she's not really Mormon. Oh, well, what is really Mormonism about? There's so many conversations around so many dinner tables are going to happen because she is the topic of conversation. And yes, is it internet clout? Is it attention whoring? Is it, not a representative of a good Mormon girl and all that other stuff? Fine. But at the end of the day, if you knew 10,000 people were going to get baptized because of it, would you fight it so hard?
Fine.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
Okay,
so anyway.
Next. This made me really angry.
Yeah, this one made you really angry.
I'm ready to leave.
So anyway, we continue here. And, would this make you this put you in a better mood, babe, if we get that picture back? That picture back.
Man,
okay.
I thought my selfie game was weak.
Yeah. Oh, brutal. So anyway, before we go any farther, let's see. Actually, I'm going to be excited to see if Jim actually shows up. I know he's got a lot going on today. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. That's going to be a pleasant surprise if we do. I'm going to read this first super chat, and then we're going to toss to you, my man. Actually, no. Loren, introduce yourself, then we're going to read super chats. Go for it, bro.
Okay. Well, broadly, I sit at the intersection, I think, of a really interesting religious philosophy and a really interesting political philosophy. And I think that is part of what prompted me to want to get in touch with you, especially now when tempers and fears are running pretty high.
Okay.
I'm a lifelong member of the church. I grew up in Riverside. I was raised in the church. I have a testimony. I went on a mission. I went to Idaho. How's that for exotic?
Nice.
Yeah, I'm feeling you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a culture shock for an urban kid from Southern California to end up in small town Idaho, but still, Idaho. Yeah. I was baptized in the Tabernacle on Temple Square back when they did that for 8-year-olds locally. They used to be able to do that. You could get baptized in the Tabernacle, so my dad did that.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
What?
I don't think it's a thing anymore, but in 1981... that was an option for people who lived close by or nearby or whatever the stakes around.
Is there a font in the Tabernacle?
Well, I was 8, so my memory is
well, you had to have known what you were dunked in.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
they didn't blindfold you.
No, there was. I recall locker rooms and changing rooms and all of that, roughly similar to the way temple baptistries work now. But apparently, there's a legit baptismal font, not a temple font, but a font.
Okay.
In the Tabernacle somewhere, or there was. Maybe they've remodeled it out.
That's
now,
cool,
at
actually.
the time. Yeah.
Brittany wouldn't let me do it. I wanted to baptize Ryder in a natural body of water.
Ooh.
I wanted to go to the ocean because we weren't allowed to do baptisms in the chapel during COVID, and he was a COVID baptism. So where did we end up baptizing him, babe? In the stake center?
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't go to the chapel and do it there, so we ended up just going to the stake center. There was some kind of change in the rules. But
you don't baptize in the chapel.
Yeah, I was going to do it in a natural body of water, and I think that's something cool that the Rigdonites do. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That our boys, not the Rigdonites.
Our oceans are pretty, but they're a little bit chilly.
That's true. Hey, well, Jonah literally baptized in the frozen Volga River, and when you got out, they had to pour vodka on you so that the water didn't freeze to your skin. Oh yeah, dude. His baptisms in the Volga were hardcore, dude. That was the frozen chosen, baby. That was awesome. Okay.
You're not going to forget that.
So anyway,
for
keep
sure.
going. Talk to us, man.
No,
Talk
so
to us.
I mention these things to say that I'm a longtime member of the church. I'm an active member of the church. I have a testimony. I'm fully fluent and versed in the language and the signals of ethnic Mormonism. But
Did you just say ethnic Mormonism?
I did. Yeah.
But we're not an ethno religion, bro.
Oh, I don't know. I think there's a longer conversation to be had about that. I think there is a distinction to be drawn. There is a distinction to be drawn between the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and Mormonism.
Okay, I mean that's fair. However, that's how ex-Mormon, anti-Mormons Trojan horse all of their anti-Mormonism into a mainstream conversation. John DeLynn all the time, when something happens major in Mormonism and all of a sudden everybody's reaching out for commentary, they go to him and they say, "Oh, are you Mormon? We need Mormon commentary." "Oh yeah, I'm totally Mormon." And it's a lie. You're not Mormon, bro. You're an ex. When people think of Mormons, they don't think of Rigdonites. They don't think of RLDS people.
Sure.
They think of Mitt Romney and his brand and his sect.
Sure.
There is confusion out there whether or not we're the weirdo polygamists or not. But when people think of Mormonism, they think of the Brighamite faith of the West.
Sure.
And to say otherwise is disingenuous at best, naive at worst, disingenuous at best. And for people to say that we're an ethnicity when we're not, it's always an excuse to try and Trojan horse crappy arguments. Like, for example, if Russell M. Nelson were to die tomorrow, God forbid, but it has to happen sometime. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. And there's 250 newspapers in North America, I'd estimate, 2,500 if you count the locals, that are going to have to write an obituary. And obituaries aren't written by your editor or by your star writer. They're usually by up-and-coming writers, and it's a first-time job. So there's going to be a lot of writers. There's going to be 2,500 writers that are looking for commentary when Russell M. Nelson dies. Well, John DeLynn and RFM and LDS discussions, Mormon discussions, Radio Free Mormon, Mormon Stories podcast, they all know that when the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Illinois Sentinel, or whatever you want to call it, when Russell M. Nelson dies, there's going to be some intern that goes online and says, okay, Mormon commentators or whatever. And the first 3 search engine optimized names are going to be Radio Free Mormon. They're going to be Mormon Stories podcast. And they're going to say, oh, good, somebody Mormon here. And they're going to click on there, send the email and say, look, I need commentary. This guy named Russell M. Nelson just passed. Are you Mormon? Oh, well, yes, I'm totally Mormon. Oh, great. What do you have to say about him? Oh, he was beloved by members of the church. Well, mostly the conservative, bigoted, and hateful ones that, just really can't stand gays and, they don't like black people or women. But other than that, he was beloved. Besides some really untasteful and problematic comments about, and he can make up whatever woke garbage he wants. Because the premise of his Mormonism is flawed. It's a lie. John DeLynn is not a member of our church. He is not Mormon because we're not an ethno-religion. We're not like Judaism, where we are a race and a religion simultaneously. I see you raising your hand. What do you want to say, bro?
No, that's a longer conversation that takes us away, I think, from what we're doing here tonight.
I wanted to fight with you.
I have, shall we say, controversial views on race. So
look at Loren being a peacemaker already.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, you are a libertarian. Your views on everything are controversial. That's why I had you here, actually. I didn't want to. I thought it would be a good idea that it wouldn't just descend into a right versus left argument in the middle of Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
So I had to get Jonah in as a pacifist, and I had to get you in as a libertarian.
The fundamental struggle of Western civilization has always been, or it has never been, right versus left. It has never been conservative versus progressive. They want you to think that. It's never been that. It has always been authoritarian versus libertarian. And there's lots of different kinds of authoritarians. And they all want to argue and fight about who gets to be the authoritarian today. But at the end of the day, they're all just authoritarians. And they just want control of some part of your life or other. Some want more control, some want less control, some want very specific control, but they all want control of something.
Almost thou convinceth me to be a libertarian.
Well, I understand that I'm not here to make a sales pitch tonight, but if you want to know more.
Okay, rock on. That's cool. No, you're allowed to pub your website and stuff. I just can't endorse you or condemn your candidates or a specific candidacy. But you can talk all about your party and pub your party and the whole 9 yards. Do not feel like your tongue is restricted. Okay. There are rules. There are rules about what we can engage in political speech. But basically, as long as we're not endorsing any specific party or condemning any specific candidates or party, feel free to explain away your views and positions and ideology. It's a good educational tool for our viewership. So,
all right. Well, let me figure
going.
out. Let me segue then from let me talk about some religious stuff, and then figure out how libertarianism wraps it up for me.
Okay,
so that
cool.
the listeners are aware of where I'm coming from.
Go
here.
for it.
You,
Hit
gentle
me.
listener, are aware of where I'm coming
Hit
from.
me,
here.
hit me, hit us.
So, foundationally, right, some of the basic concepts that we deal with in the church are choice and accountability, right? God is a radical free choice advocate, and we are down here to choose. That's the whole point of existence, is we learn choice and accountability, we learn cause and effect, true and false, that
So
fundamental
while my buddies in
calculus of
LA
existence.
say Jesus is my homeboy, you come in with your cool hat and you say, yes, he was your homeboy, but he was a libertarian homeboy. Is what
He's absolutely a libertarian homeboy. Well, okay, actually, no, I'm gonna be careful with that. I'm gonna be careful with that because, and this is important, and I
the
think this is
first
important for a lot of
century
people.
Jew had wildly 17th century economic views. You know?
The point is that there have always been people seeking to preserve choice, and there have always been people seeking to circumscribe choice. There have always been people doing that. So that's not to say that, like, you say somebody came at me once and said, so, like, who were the libertarians in the 15th century? Where were the libertarians in the 15th century? And I said, Martin Luther. Right. This is a guy who wanted to preserve a choice. He was operating against the authoritarian nature of the Catholic Church. He wanted more freedom than currently existed. And there's always been people who have wanted more freedom than presently existed. They're not always successful.
Oh, wait, but hold on a second. Isn't there a little bit of flaw in your historical reasoning here? You say that there's only the true question has been between authoritarianism and libertarianism, and that there's two parties in America that are constantly fighting over who's going to be today's authoritarian.
Sure.
Couldn't you say that those reformers were really just trying to replace the authoritarianism of the Catholic Church instead of becoming the libertarian alternative to that?
At the end of the day, that argument could certainly be made.
Yeah.
Libertarianism in
Because
its
the
own
creeds,
way,
man, I don't know if that was an improvement.
libertarianism in its own way functions as kind of a platonic ideal. We sit at the edge of the Overton window, tugging forever in the direction of liberty.
Oh, is that what you call always losing?
Yes, that's exactly what I call always losing.
Oh my gosh.
But however, and I think this is important, right?
Yeah,
a lot of things have happened that libertarians are pretty pleased with in California, right?
Oh,
We're in California
interesting.
specifically, right?
Okay,
I
really?
mean, recreational cannabis is legal. You can make that choice with your life if you want. For better or for worse, gay marriage is legal. You can make that choice if you want. You don't have to, but that choice is available to you if you want it.
Okay. These are all past.
These are all things that the culture has broadly embraced that are inherently libertarian ideals that libertarians have been pushing for from the start. The Libertarian Party since the 70s had that stuff in their platform. They wanted these freedoms, and over time, the people just came to see that those freedoms are probably okay, and so we can just let people make that choice for themselves.
Okay, interesting.
And I think that falls decently for me within the LDS conceptualization of choice and accountability. You get to choose for yourself, but you got to own your choice, and you got to own the piece of your choice.
Into peacemaking?
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about how that gets wrapped up in libertarianism, because libertarianism is not a religious philosophy. Libertarianism is a political philosophy, and if you try to make your political philosophy a religion, it will drive you mad. You will go crazy.
Interesting.
And I think that we see that today writ large in a whole variety of ways. There are people who have turned their political beliefs into their religion, and it has driven them insane.
And it's a violation of the Ten Commandments anyway, because it becomes effectively a false idol.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I like how Governor Cox said, like, touch grass.
Yes.
Like, internet rage is not real life, and that is what contributed to this. And I think left, right, and center, everybody can wholeheartedly agree that there's no way we get out of this without looking very deeply in the mirror as to how we behave collectively online.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so keep going.
In order to join the Libertarian Party, you have to sign a pledge. And that pledge is the non-aggression pledge. And that says that I reject the initiation of force for political purposes. So foundationally, the Libertarian Party rejects in all its forms political violence, in whatever form that takes. So
okay, well, isn't that the definition of Russell M. Nelson's peace at any price?
Well, I mean, defending yourself is totally legit. The point is that you're not the one that is aggressing. Right? The point is that you don't be the aggressor. And I think that holds up scripturally in a whole variety of ways.
Okay, well then, now here's my question though, is that sometimes these hard and fast rules, I sometimes don't think are as bedrock as people think. Because, for example, Putin invaded Russia claiming historical defense of historical, Putin invaded Ukraine claiming historical claim to the Russian-speaking people of eastern Ukraine, that I'm not actually aggressing upon an existing sovereign state. All I'm doing is defending Russia's traditional borders.
Sure.
So, I don't know. To me, it seems like that's not as hard and fast as we'd like to think.
Well, it requires conversation. It requires that people talk to each other. Right?
Okay.
Because and as we learned from Charlie Kirk, as Charlie Kirk has brought back to our attention here with emphasis lately, one of the phrases that I keep seeing on social media from Charlie Kirk is, when people stop talking, that's when bad things happen. So you got to just keep talking. The conversation has to be ongoing, and you can have a conversation about who is aggressing against who and who threw the first punch and who shot the first shot. Those conversations are important to have, but as long as everyone's talking about those things, fewer people are shooting at each other about those things, and that's an unmitigated good, because we need to not do that. That kind of aggression just cannot stand. You can't do that, or society just cannibalizes itself apart. So one of the things that I try and talk to people about when we sit down and have conversations about political philosophy is getting out into your community and meeting people face to face and having those conversations. That's what ultimately fixes this. That's what fixes all of this. Is you're not talking to people's internet avatars. You're going and talking to people personally, and you're getting to know them personally. I sit down with people on a fairly regular basis, and we'll have lunch or something, and they want to know more about libertarianism. They want to maybe join the Libertarian Party. Almost thou persuadest me to be a libertarian, they will say. So we'll talk about that. And I'll say, so what brought you here? Why contact me? Why are we sitting down? And they will launch into a whole laundry list of terrible faraway conspiracies. Klaus Schwab and Vladimir Putin and fluoride in the water and the world
Tartaria,
and, right, the Hollow Earth theory and Order 66 and on, right? They'll talk about all of this different
Flat
things.
Earth is fake.
Hollow Earth is
real.
way cooler. I'm into Hollow Earth 100%. Yeah. And why haven't we moved back to the moon? Not because we can't, because we found something scary, and so we don't dare.
Oh, we're going into that one in overtime. We're going into that one in overtime. All right, keep going.
All right, so I'll talk to people, and they'll have all these terrible, terrible, great global fears that they have, and fairly quickly in the conversation, I will have to stop them and say, "Let me ask you a question. Do you know who your city councilman is?" And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Do you know who your county supervisor is? No. Your school board trustee? No. Are you aware of any of the other elected boards that affect your life today? Mosquito abatement, Parks and Rec, library, water district, whatever. Do you know any of those people who purport to represent you? No. You should. You should get to know those people. Then you should figure out where those people are at. Because not only can those people screw your life up today, but you can actually develop a relationship with those people today. You can get FaceTime with those people today. You're never going to get FaceTime
and
with the president.
And improve your society.
And you'll improve your society. More than that, it means that you get to see what they're doing. And you will meet people you have not otherwise met. And you will meet people who believe things that you don't believe. And you will need to figure out how to have a civil conversation with these people. And because you have to still live together.
And you'll also realize how it's not a big giant conspiracy of people that have it out against you.
Right.
That it's actually just, it's not a big cabal. It's just a giant complex machine that sometimes fails and needs help to function. And I think
it needs the spirit.
Yeah, I think actually one of the most destructive, and there's some Calvinist preachers that have really come hard at me on this one, and I've sometimes, like, one of the only things that, like, I don't know where freaking Jonah's coming from on this one is like pacifism. You know, like, there's 2 things that sometimes are big Calvinist talking points that just, like, I bristle at. I do not understand.
As in complete nonviolence?
No. is okay. So he's a pacifist, right? And I think that like how
which
can
means
you,
complete nonviolence. What does that mean?
I would let him defend that. I can't defend his argument as well as he can, obviously.
Okay. All right.
And I will welcome you to come on that show when we have that. You know what I'm saying? So like pacifism is one of them, and the second one is there's a very internationally popular Christian pastor here that's super influential in North America that teaches just at a university right nearby. And he says like Christians should not engage in politics. And he's so successful that there's so many like members of the congregations that he influences like literally feel like if they participate in politics like they've committed a sin practically, right?
I think unfortunately there's a lot of that in the LDS church too.
I was going to say like the LDS church has a big problem. We're either always racing on the right to become Protestants or we're racing on the left to try and become secular atheist academics, you know, and we're always trying to race away from God who is in the middle, you know, and I was just going to say that I actually think it's one of the most wildly destructive perversions of Christianity, this idea that you're not supposed to be engaged in politics because it's just antithetical to the spirit of the scripture. I think Jesus Christ was there saying like, no, like we're commanded to be servants. Like we're the salt that you sprinkle upon a plate. And if the salt loses its savor, like the plate's done, it's toast, it's no good. I think as Christians, we're called to actually do as much service, even if it is public service, as we possibly can to serve our fellow man. And if we don't, that's when the whole thing goes to crap because people don't know how it works and only the worst amongst us do. And then they can exploit it to their benefit and the detriment of others.
And they want to exploit it because they feel a religious calling to do so. If you cede the ground to inherent authoritarians, then they fill that void, and they do that from a mindset of this is the highest, noblest calling to which I can aspire. The passion with which your pastor guy says you must not participate in politics is the exact same passion with which these folks choose to participate in politics. This is religious zealotry for them. This is something that they perceive as the ultimate good that makes them paragons of righteousness, being able to tell you what to do with your life.
Okay, so I know we're going down a rabbit hole of a rabbit hole right now, but like, isn't there an argument that Machiavelli said, who is the best leader? In The Prince, he actually defines who the best type of leader is above all leaders. And what does he say?
What does he say?
He says a benevolent dictator.
Sure.
Which at the end of the day, if you think about it, Christ is king.
Sounds like Christ. Sure.
Yeah. That is literally what the kingdom of God is. We don't say the republic of God. We don't vote for our bishops or usher in, you know, an electoral college for our stake presidents. It's a kingdom of God in which he is king, and he chooses who, through revelation, is going to be next, right? So if the best system is actually a benevolent dictator, according to Machiavelli, and also, frankly, the framework of the kingdom of God,
sure,
I can't look at Brigham Young and not say, dude, founded the empire of the West.
Based.
And he basically did it through pure, unadulterated authoritarianism.
Sure.
So
married to the fact that he was probably a sociopath.
Okay, sure. But how can you look at the legacy of Brigham Young and not think this is how we survived? This was the basis of how we thrived. It might be the basis of some negative aspects as well, but I don't know.
Is that really inherently different from Saul or David or whoever?
I just think authoritarianism isn't so bad, and maybe we should just embrace it.
And I don't. And you know, libertarianism is not something that requires democracy. This is going to get out in the weeds of libertarianism. So let's come back to this. Let's talk about some basic libertarian principles because
they
can apply to a whole bunch of things.
Educate us.
So libertarianism takes the fundamental calculus of choice and accountability and wraps it in the political shell of property rights. So the idea then is that you have absolute ownership of some very important things, 3 specifically: yourself, your stuff, and your speech. So you have the absolute unalienable right of ownership over yourself. You own your body. It belongs to you and nobody else. You get to decide what goes in it. You get to decide what comes out of it. Nobody gets to try and make you do force you to do something or not do something with it, or take it away from you without your explicit informed consent.
Okay.
You absolutely own your stuff. You have the right to property, and whatever it is you own belongs to you, and you get to decide what you do with it. You dispose of
my
your
wife?
property your way. Well, she's a person.
I knew I saw his finger over there going to my
He was
camera,
ready to
and I
go.
was like, I know what he's gonna say
I'm
right
sure
now.
there will be beatings later for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. I'm gonna go with no,
Notice
but
she
I'm
didn't
not the judge.
Notice she didn't refute it. No. Keep going, bro. Keep going.
Whatever you say, Daddy.
That's funny. Keep going, my man. Keep going. And don't get too jealous.
Hey,
gosh.
I'm trying hard.
So keep
Lauren's
going,
never coming back.
Oh, are you
I'm
kidding?
so scared right now. I'm sorry.
You ought to come to some of my libertarian events.
It's also
Okay.
focusing on your knee, babe. Whenever you have your knee forward, it focuses
Sorry.
on your knee.
I'm
not yours.
comfortable.
But your face is so beautiful. I want to be able to make sure I put it on the next thumbnail.
Well,
but
that was
actually,
sweet.
if you're
Thanks.
comfy, just that's cool. Be comfy. So anyway, keep hitting it.
So you own your stuff. You own your property.
Yes.
And you get to decide what you do with it. Nobody
Sounds
gets
good
to
to me.
force you to do stuff with it. Nobody gets to take it away from you without your consent.
Okay, cool.
And you own your speech, by which in this case I'm coupling that with belief. You get to believe what you want to believe. Whatever altar
Sure.
moves you is the altar that you are allowed to kneel at. You kneel at it. If that's where you want to be, then that's where you want to be. And you get to share that
Excellent.
opinion. You get to share that opinion as you see fit.
Yes.
And nobody gets to make you say or not say or believe or not believe anything that you don't want to without your consent.
Okay.
So you own those three things: self, stuff, and speech. With those ownerships, though, a lot of that ownership hits that choice piece. But then there's an accountability piece that is very important. And that accountability piece is that you have to recognize that everybody else has those same three rights of ownership too over their selves, stuff, and speech. And so at some point, your rights are going to butt up against each other, and you're going to have a conversation. You're going to have a conversation about what you're doing with your neighbor, about your neighbor's tree or whatever, or in an extreme instance, right, your neighbor's machine gun. Your neighbor's got a right to own a machine gun. You got a right to own a machine gun. What you don't have the right to do is shell each other's homes, because that's somebody else's property, and you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
Now, if your neighbor starts shelling your home, then you have every right to shell back. And so, and that's totally legit. I had somebody.
Sounds like The Purge.
I had somebody tease me. A year or so ago. People find out that you're a member of the church, and there's a handful of things they immediately reach for. That's the thing they've heard about the church, and so then they want to feel like they want to ask you about that. And this particular one was, of all things, food storage. That was where this guy was.
Oh, interesting.
And so he found out I was a member of the church, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you Mormons, you all have to have a year's worth of food, in your house. That's crazy." And I said, "Well, yeah, we're told that we should be prepared for stuff, and so yeah, you should have supplies in your house for up to a year, because if something goes bad, that way you can take care of yourself." And he said, "Well, what if the guys down the street just come and kill you and take your food?" And I said, "I've also got a year's supply of ammunition." And then I laughed, and he laughed, and then we hesitated, and then I smiled, and he smiled, and we laughed again, and he dropped it and changed the subject. You're totally allowed to defend yourself if somebody is coming at you and trying to take over something that belongs to you, trying to force you to do something with your property or take it away from you. That's all totally legit.
Okay.
Once those things are in place, and respect for those things are in place, and that non-aggression principle is in place, it doesn't really matter what form government takes, as long as government respects those things. So I'll have a conversation with people sometimes, and they'll be like, "How do you guys feel about the Constitution?" I don't think we need it. I think that ultimately, if you gave me the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence, it wouldn't matter what government grew out of that. It wouldn't matter what the government looked like. As long as it respected the principles in the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, I think we'd be good.
Okay, cool. Sunday school with you must be really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Elders Quorum must be really interesting.
Yeah, everybody leans forward when it's Brother Dean's turn to conduct. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So, how would you translate? How would you translate into practical action now, being kind of a third party to the discourse between the left and the right now that's going on surrounding this Charlie Kirk situation. I'm really concerned over the membership. I want to read what Jim Bennett said because I thought it was actually pretty good, and I want to see how it goes and checks against your libertarian philosophy and so on and so forth. How do you, as a member who seems well versed in probably having to handle difficult political situations due to your libertarian association, what's some practical advice you have for members in this time that they can take to the bank?
You need to get involved in your community, and not in a way that is like strident protesting. You just need to start getting involved. You need to be present. Your presence and your spirit needs to be in the rooms where people are angry.
Okay, so then start answering some super chats and let's see how that actually applies right here. Okay. So right now here's your chance. Peacemaking advice from a libertarian. You literally have the director or the chairman of the California Libertarian Party right here, all the way up in Los Angeles from Riverside, California. He's a lifelong member of the church, baptized in the tabernacle. I mean, he's about...
Been sealed in the temple twice.
He volunteers as Santa Claus in the Christmas party.
I do.
You know what I'm saying? He's about as Mormon gets, right? Or as member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gets. So now's your chance to ask some questions here. First one, he says, sorry, can't make peace with those who have shown they will murder and cheer on the death of their political opponents. Charlie was the olive branch. What do you say?
I kind of get that guy. Was it a guy that said it?
Yeah,
I'm
I
kind
feel
of there
that
with
one.
him.
Look, is there reason to be concerned? Sure. Is there reason to be alert? Sure. Is there reason to be mindful of the places where you find yourself? Yeah. Is there a reason for you to go out and get your CCW? Probably. Is there a reason for you to go buy a gun? Yeah, you should do that, and you should be prepared. You should be prepared to defend yourself if the need arises. What you cannot do is then swagger into a public meeting and say, all you libtards better shut up. What you cannot do is go force your will on others now. If
Might
you are
make you feel a little better, though.
Oh, sure. It'll make you feel great, right? I mean, rage always feels good for a second, right? And we all like to carry around a little pet hate in our pocket, and every once in a while you pull it out and you pet it and you feel good about it, then you put it back in your pocket and you just carry it around.
That. Pet hate?
Your pet hate, yeah,
love that.
absolutely. You pull your little pet hate out of your pocket and pet it for a minute.
Yeah.
Everybody feels good doing that, but that's not healthy. It's not good for you. You can't grow when the pet hate is riding around in your pocket. So you got to figure out how to see individual people as individual people. Are there bizarre mutant ghouls on TikTok right now celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk? Yes, absolutely. Are those people out of their minds? Yeah, probably.
I think they're literally demonically possessed.
I am inclined to agree. I actually am inclined to agree.
And I don't say that lightly. Like,
No,
I
me neither.
literally think
Me neither.
they are demons.
I think there is a lot to be said for the idea that God's wrath, what we call God's wrath, isn't really wrath. It's entropy. It's the withdrawal of God's Spirit. And in the withdrawal of God's Spirit, something else will fill that void. And we know full well that there are things out there that will fill that void. Yeah. And there are folks who come into the sway of those things that fill that void when they have distanced themselves from the Spirit in that way. And it ultimately leads them to destruction.
And what's scary too
are there people? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. What's scary too is I think that we've all become accustomed to seeing demons, that we actually are just used to it now. And I think that that's, for me, I don't know. I recently deactivated all my social media because I don't trust people right now. I saw people's reactions, like people I knew too, and I was just like, wow, like I can't do it. And it's been really hard week. And I don't know, I just feel like we're just so accustomed to evil now that we don't call it what it is. We call it other things. Maybe we call it mental health issues. Maybe we call it something else. And I just think it's
important to remember, though, that, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, right? We can't pronounce people evil and then go burn them. Yeah. That's been tried, and it's broadly a bad idea societally. Yeah. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared to defend yourself. You absolutely should. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be alert, especially when you're out somewhere with your kids. You absolutely should. Absolutely. But you also have to be able to see individual people as people in your community, It's easy to be afraid of social media. It's easy to get on the social media and be like, look at these insane people.
Yeah.
But they don't live where you live, right? Go and meet your neighbor. Go next door and meet your neighbor. Here in California, we're really bad at that.
I was going to say, Loren, I know we just met, but I'm calling myself Brittany the Shadow because I'm not a people person.
Well,
I don't care to talk to people that I do not know. I
Well,
really talk to people like I do know.
There may be outfits in your community that can help you with that too,
Yeah.
right? I'll say go meet your neighbor. People are like, well, what do I even say to my neighbor? Like, how do I do that? Well, if you feel like you need some structure to do that, well, then join a club. There are outfits and organizations in your community right now that probably need your help. In fact, that certainly need your help. There are youth sports leagues that probably need your help. The Elks and Lions and Kiwanis and whatever. All those organizations need people to join them. There are civic committees. There are a variety of different structures inside your community that you can go and meet people at and have conversations with people at that are normal people who live in your community, who want the same things as you do for their kids and everything else. And if you guys can talk to each other individually without the influence of social media and without TikTok screaming in your ear, you're going to discover that people are all right. Yeah. And the people around you are all right. And you probably live in a world full of demons. They're certainly out there. But you take the steps that are needed in order to get your spirit out there into your community, and it will improve your community. Now, for that to happen, you got to have the spirit. So, fellas, gentle listeners, quit the porn. Right? Don't do it, because you have to be able to walk into a room and have the spirit, and people need to be able to look at you and say, "This guy's different, and I trust this guy, and I feel safe with this guy. He's not a skis."
Did you
Okay,
literally
Austin
just
Falter,
say,
please. That needs to be a short. That needs to be a short.
Did you just say peacemakers, the fulfillment of Russell M. Nelson's conference talk of peacemakers needed is quitting porn?
Hey, you know what? Enslaving yourself to appetite makes you vulnerable to influences that are not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got to have self-discipline, and the self-discipline to quit the porn is the self-discipline that you can then also assert in a room full of people who disagree about the street project or trash collection or whatever, and people are shouting at each other about dumb things, and you can be a calm influence there because you have the self-discipline to do it, to think past the immediate emotional gratification of calling someone names and actually saying, where's our common ground here?
Okay.
And talk about that.
I also see that Jim's locking and loaded into the Zoom. So Jim, whenever you're ready, just give me the peace sign and we'll bring you in. So got another super chat here. The second one is Asombrada Noite. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. It says, random question, is Glenn Beck still Mormon?
As far as I know.
I believe
I was
so.
about going to say, based upon a financial transaction buying a recent Mormon relic from a collector I know, he self-identifies as still being Mormon. I'm not aware of any excommunications that have happened in the past 10 days.
I think this raises a good point, though. And it raises a good point for our peacemaking theme here, and that is that people need to know you're a member of the church. One of the great temptations of moving out of the church into the community, and here in California, I think we're especially vulnerable to this. I was certainly vulnerable to it as a youth growing up in California. I was the only member of the church in my friend group. I was the only member I was one of half a dozen members of the church that were in my high school. It's real easy to just conveniently forget that you're a member of the church, because nobody around you knows anything about your standards.
Yeah.
And so maybe you just don't have to live them right now. But then you lose the spirit. You lose your ability to have that calming influence. You lose your ability to be somebody who is calming in the room. You lose that. So own it. Own the fact that you're a member of the church. I have people in the Libertarian Party who will come up to me and talk, and they'll curse and then immediately say, I'm sorry, I know you don't like that kind of language. I'm not offended by that kind of language, right? It doesn't bother me. But they feel like they need to say it, because they know that I draw personal lines for myself about how I speak, and they choose to respect that and honor that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm into that. Now, admittedly, they've also offered me psilocybin. But
Okay.
I've been told by people in the Libertarian Party. I've been at events, right, and you have a conversation, and so what are you into? What's your hobby? Oh, dude, I like grow my own mushrooms and stuff. And, this guy's in tie dye and all of that, and I say, oh, that's very interesting. I mean, I don't do any of that, and everybody's cool with that. Your choice, your body, your choice. You decide what goes in it. You decide what comes out of it. But then that conversation will inevitably turn to, Loren, I want you to know, bro. Like, if you ever do want a trip, you gotta let me know. And I'll take care of you. Like, we'll make sure you're safe. We'll make sure that it's right, and we'll make sure that you have a good experience.
Being a brother's keeper.
Yeah,
right.
Well,
that sort of earnestness is moving in its own way. That kind of earnestness to hear from somebody. I mean, this is somebody that I'm not going to go do psilocybin, right? But this is a guy who was very earnest about it and wanted to share it with me because it's something that he felt was really important in his life. It didn't bother him that I refused. It didn't bother him that I declined. But he offered, and I respected that offer. Okay.
Well, speaking of big psilocybin advocates, we'd like to welcome to the Ward Radio Wigwam, Jim Bennett. Also, Gary Johnson impersonator here. He's going to say,
that's impressive.
Where is Aleppo? Where is Aleppo?
Where is Aleppo? Yes,
yes. Yep. You and half the country. Yeah.
I was working for Gary Johnson when he did that. I had a call. We had a call every morning, and that was the moment that we knew everything was over. It was really miserable. Hello. The psilocybin conversation is really interesting because one of my best friends in the whole world is a guy by the name of Steve Urquhart. He was my neighbor in St. George. Our kids are the same age. And anyway, he was the Senate Majority Whip in the Utah legislature, and he left the church, created his own church that was a psilocybin mushroom church.
Of course it was.
So there you go.
Wait, I think it's like in downtown Salt Lake, and it's got like red velvet on the walls, right? I've seen like a Vice documentary on that psilocybin church.
All right. I only had just a few minutes, and I'm just saying hello, and I support all that you're doing, but I'm going to have to log off. But peacemaking is cool, and I appreciate what you're doing here.
Hey, no sweat. If you got to go, I'll read your thread, bro. I'll read your thread.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. See you, my man. See you, my man.
Bye.
So we support drive-bys, just not drive-by shootings, drive-by salutings. We'll take them. We got that one from Jim Bennett. Thank you very much, Jim. So I'm actually going to read Jim's tweet that he had this morning because I think one of the things that I respect about Jim is he has a very good spiritual seatbelt, I feel. And so though we may disagree on a lot of intricacies of individual policy positions and analysis on candidates and so on and so forth, I really feel if members of the Church of Jesus Christ could take this idea to heart, that I think it would work well. And this is my main concern. What was so interesting about Charlie Kirk is this is actually why this is one of the biggest reasons why I'm so sad about Charlie Kirk's passing. And then I'm going to show you what it has to do with Jim Bennett's thread, okay? But this is him literally only a month ago on the Tucker Carlson program, okay? This is what he said. And I want us all to listen and then see how it butts up against what Jim Bennett just put in his thread today. Okay, so here it goes. Charlie Kirk.
Political radicalism needs a catalyst. Political radicalism does not come out of peace, prosperity, rising wages, stable families, church attendance, and happy people. Happy people, grateful people do not get behind Vladimir Lenin, and they certainly don't get behind Chavez or Castro.
That's right.
People that own nothing, that feel like their property is diminishing, or they don't have property, or their dollar is diminishing in value, they start to look for alternatives. And so the political project in front of us as conservatives should be, how do we actually de-radicalize the country in the next couple of years? That's my obsession.
Okay. So I'm just going to press pause right there and say, to me, that is the task of the peacemaker. I think that's what Russell M. Nelson, why he gave so many peacemaking talks in a seemingly relatively peaceful time. Like when people first heard those peacemaking talks, they were thinking about just like being nicer with their neighbor during the midterms or something. we had no idea that one of the most high-profile political assassinations, what some people are calling a modern RFK, a modern MLK, was going to happen. And as members of the church, we'd have to lead the charge in trying to keep this together. And I view as my calling in life, we have to be able to de-radicalize the population. And so I'm going to read now Jim Bennett's little thread here, because I feel this is one of the first steps towards de-radicalizing. And if liberals could do this to their fellow within the liberal half of the church, and if conservatives could do this within the within the conservative half of the church, I think we would all be a lot better off. So here's his thread. He said, let's talk a little bit about peacemaking, what it is and what it isn't. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this really fast. He says, I'm getting comments and messages blaming me for contributing to Charlie Kirk's death. Some of them are quite frightening and unsettling, but the basic logic is this. I have called Donald Trump a fascist. I have said that voting for him is a vote for fascism. People point out that I have not recanted or apologized for saying this. They're right, because here's the thing, guys. I still believe that, and I stand by it. I've also described this as a personal crisis of faith, which it continues to be, which I find especially difficult to reconcile the fact that 2/3 of the American members of my church voted for fascism. President Dallin H. Oaks has counseled us that we should never assert that a faithful Latter-day Saint cannot belong to a particular party or vote for a particular candidate. That makes this a me problem, not a them problem. In other words, the wrestle here is not with trying to correct the church or President Oaks. It has always been an internal wrestle. How do I worship alongside people that voted for this? And by the way, I feel that first super chat we just read, sorry, can't make peace with those that have shown that they will murder and cheer on the death of their political opponents. I feel like that is just the right-wing version of what Jim Bennett is feeling here, left-wing style, right? Now, I would argue that both of those are probably based on somewhat of an echo chamber in social media and a little bit of, accepting straw man arguments made by a media that is meant to manipulate and profit instead of actually inform. So both of them may be just falling into a little bit of a different trap. But I got to tell you, I empathize with both of these people, because sometimes I go to church feeling the same way about leftists, especially when you hear what they're doing in abortion down in like Australia and kids dying in steel pans. And it's absolutely brutal. Right. So I empathize. But anyway, he says, after a great deal of soul searching, I have decided that the Lord wants me to stay and that he wants me to sustain the church leaders here. That means that I can't say that someone who voted for this can't be a faithful Latter-day Saint. I've discovered that President Oaks was entirely correct, and that accepting fellow church members despite my profound disagreements on this is the right course of action. All of us have strengths and flaws, and judgment of our souls should be left to God. Yet, for my many critics, it's not enough for me to say that I won't condemn you for voting for Trump or that I fully accept you as a faithful Latter-day Saints. I have to say that no, Trump is not a fascist, and a vote for him is not a vote for fascism. But I don't believe that. Donald tried to violently overthrow a free and fair election. He's setting up concentration camps with alligators. I don't know what that's referencing. Who knows? Maybe that's just a joke.
I know what he's talking about.
Oh, okay. He's using the military to occupy American cities. By every objective definition, he's a fascist. And that's setting aside the fact that he's been found in a court of law to be a sexual predator, a $500 million fraud, a convicted felon. Everything about him screams to my conscience that he's evil and must be opposed to every opportunity. How can I do this and still be a peacemaker? Right?
You can recognize that we haven't had a good U.S. president since Calvin Coolidge. You can start there.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Well, he's almost done. Let me just let I say him finish.
And then I have thoughts.
And then you have thoughts, yes. Yeah. So he says that's the challenge. It's not that we all have to agree. It's that we all have to learn to disagree peacefully. I do not accept anyone who supports Trump expect anyone who supports Trump to abandon their position in order to make peace with me. And this is where it starts getting really, really good. A lot of people probably bristled as I read the first half of this, like just, and heck, I was bristling right there with you, right? But this is where it gets really good. And I look up to Jim Bennett for this. He says that's a challenge. It's not that we all have to agree. It's that we all have to learn to disagree peacefully. I do not expect anyone who supports Trump to abandon their position in order to make peace with me. Likewise, they should not demand that I abandon my position in order to make peace with them. We will continue to compete in the arena of ideas, and the disagreements are not likely to go away. Peacemaking is finding ways to compete and negotiate in good faith, right? So it continues to go on. That's the first half, and we don't have to read the whole second half because I actually really liked. He kind of actually brought up somewhat of a spiritual libertarianism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which
what he's laying out there is that he absolutely has the right to believe as he believes, and everyone has the right to believe as they believe, and you can't force someone else to believe something that they don't want to believe. You can't jump in somebody else's life and force them to live their life your way. You just can't do that. Well, and really, it's not even that you can or can't, because you can't force someone to agree with you. You literally can't force someone to agree with you.
Well, yeah,
the best you can do,
the
best you can do is force them to pretend to agree with you, and that's a pretty vicious thing to do to somebody.
Oh, it's a great alternative.
That's
close
a
second.
terrible alternative.
No, I'm just kidding.
The whole idea of forcing someone to pretend to agree with you is something that should nauseate any of us. That's just it's just really disgusting.
How do we get better at this in the church?
Well,
how do we,
I have an idea.
Culture is downstream from politics, and we have to change our culture.
What's the girl's name? Her last name is McEnany, I think. She was Donald Trump's press secretary.
Kayleigh.
Yes, thank you.
Blonde info babe number 362 at Fox.
Yes.
The next Bachelorette.
Yeah. Oh, don't give me. Oh, I just forgot about Taylor Frankie Paul. Lauren.
Sorry.
Anyway, she made this post about Charlie Kirk, and she said, look, Charlie, it wasn't about right or left with him. He was more moderate, though he tended to go towards the right. But more importantly, he pointed up. And I really loved that. And then it made me think about when Christ called the disciples. I mean, he had men of all different backgrounds and beliefs. Some of them hate each other, Peter and Matthew. And all he said was, come follow me. Like, it doesn't matter. Focus on me. And I think that's what we need to do. Instead of focusing on each other, maybe we just focus on him, and that leads the way.
Okay, now, I agree with you.
Yeah, there's very much a what would Jesus do vibe.
I would agree with you. My only frustration with that is, maybe this is just my troglodyte, Cro-Magnon, knuckle-dragging brain, is I think that's a noble soundbite that works on a live stream, but like
what does that look like in real life?
Yeah, when somebody like in my ward posts on social media advocating for a policy that has immediately ruined the lives of friends of mine.
You get rid of social media so you don't see it.
But is that? I don't think ignorance is bliss. To me, that's that's just generating ignorance.
I don't think we were ever made to know everything that happens in the world or to know everything about someone. That's not like our family. I don't think we were meant to have all of that energy in our minds 24/7.
I think it's fair to say we weren't built for it.
I think this carries us into, and we're gonna drop way out into the weeds here, maybe.
Okay.
But I have contemplated from time to time the whole notion of Satan's plan, right? Satan's plan, of course, is forcing everyone to be righteous all the time.
Okay.
Well, how do you do that?
Okay.
How would you actually do that? Because there's a part of me that believes, and in fact, I believe that Satan is ultimately still trying to do that. I think that ultimately, because Satan was denied immortal probation, he can't actually learn. And so that first choice of his is now the only choice for him. And so he's still locked into this pattern of trying to figure out how to hijack the plan and prove that it works. The only way forward for him is to prove that his plan works and hijack the whole thing.
Okay, that's based off of a very interesting premise. You said that because he never received a body, he cannot learn.
He didn't have the mortal probation, right? Didn't have the mortal probation that allowed him to pass through the veil and learn that those foundational choice and accountability, true, false, plus, minus things that are the foundation for us, that will ultimately be the foundation for us to return to God and then learn the greater things that God wants to teach us.
So you think he is just as intelligent as he was then, he is now. That flies in the face of a very interesting Argentine adage where they say the devil is so sneaky and crafty because he's so old. Now I know that's just a folk
I'm not going to argue with the Argentinians.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that's an interesting concept to think if without a mortal probation, is there a doctrinal basis? And I know this is like super deep doctrine. Right?
Almost certainly not. I'm not going to teach a Sunday school lesson on that. I'm not going to bear testimony on that.
No, but I mean, that's what War Radio's here for. We're speculating. Right. We're educating ourselves. What is there any kind of... Gosh, it seems like it would be in like a chapter of the footnotes of Journal of Discourses or something,
we'll ask Jonah Barnes. It's in the Apocrypha.
Yeah, somewhere. We'll ask Jonah Barnes if it's in the Apocrypha somewhere. But do we have to have bodies and experience mortal probation in order to learn? Is the capacity to learn part of mortality, or is that inherent to our intelligences?
That's a good question. I don't know that I'm fully prepared to explore that question.
Okay.
But fundamentally, for my thesis here, is that just the notion that Satan is locked into a course. He cannot come out of it, and it doesn't even occur to him to come out of it. That the only way forward for him is to win. He has to win. And what does winning look like? I don't think winning looks like frustrating the plan. I think that winning looks like making his plan the plan. He has to do the thing he said he was going to do in order to prove that it can be done. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
So how do you do that? Well, how do you do that? Well, that requires that really all of us here in mortality be completely inert, waiting to be told what to think and waiting to be told what to do every day so that we stay righteous all the time. How is that accomplished? Well, you put your every thought out in public for everyone to see so that you can be immediately corrected by the social media hive mind in order to be told how to be righteous today.
So Brittany's coping mechanism of just quitting social media altogether is the only way to escape the hive mind. It's the only way to unplug from the matrix.
What can I say?
That's right. Burn the Mythos tome. Turn off social media.
Wow, okay.
Or at least get it off your phone. I think that there's a lot of people who want to use social media for like groups or keep in touch with family, that kind of thing. For me, taking Facebook off my phone was a colossal benefit to me. It was an enormous move toward my personal peace.
Yeah.
Not doom scrolling on my phone. I deal with it on my desktop because I will, get a bunch of windows open and I'm communicating with people and sending out meeting invitations and all that kind of thing.
And you can also type, which makes things go faster.
Correct.
Yeah.
But not just doom scrolling, not being able to doom scroll, an enormous benefit. Colossal benefit.
So now we're getting
So fellas,
somewhere.
while you're quitting porn, take it off your phone.
Oh, that's funny. Well, see, now we're getting into the practicalities.
Right.
Jim says, for example, I never embrace any kind of political violence, no matter what. It's a hard and fast rule. It's
Correct.
a seatbelt.
He's correct.
And he also has another great spiritual seatbelt where he's like, look, I prayed about this and I received personal revelation from God that he wants me here. And that means this is my team and I have to support it and play along with it and be okay with people that I don't see any other way outside of religious affiliation that I would endure living with based off of what I see from where I'm standing.
Sure.
All right. And I'd like to think that only works if you're teamed with some humility enough to say I'm willing to learn.
Absolutely.
Which sometimes he can be very stubborn, but I'd like to believe that
absolutely.
He's
I had a very interesting
right?
I had a very interesting moment when I turned 42. I distinctly recall this being 42. It was my early 40s.
Okay.
And I noticed in conversation with younger men, I'd be talking to guys in their 20s, and I would think to myself over the course of that conversation, this guy is an idiot. He's just said something that was stupid. I know for a fact that that's incorrect. He's got a stupid argument here that he's trying to make. I can't believe I'm still listening to this guy. And in conversations where it would be a 20-something guy and me and another 40-something guy, at some point over the course of that conversation, me and the other 40-something guy would exchange a knowing look. Like we both knew that the younger guy was an idiot, but we never said it to each other. We never, and neither of us ever took the younger guy aside and said, "Bro, you're being an idiot." Like that never happened. It was just this somehow knowledge that we were older now and we were wiser, and so it's all good. But then I had a horrifying revelation to myself. I had a horrifying realization. I guess I can't call it revelation. Realization. And I said to myself, Loren, if you feel that people 20 years younger than you are being stupid, is it possible that people 20 years older than you now are still feeling the same way about you? Is it possible that I am having conversations with 60-year-old guys and they are saying, this guy is an idiot? And when there's another 60-year-old guy, they exchange a knowing look and say,
well,
yeah,
all the 6-year-olds,
we know this guy's an idiot.
all the 6-year-olds are all on vacation with their rich money bag and super.
What I realized too was
their boomer cruises.
Oh boy, start over the countdown.
Their pensions and all of their big soft cushy Social Security. None of us millennials will ever get.
Yeah, no doubt. Social Security. Bye-bye. That willingness, the willingness to realize that you might still be an idiot, sits foundationally at a lot of things. And that the humility that goes with that goes a long way toward helping you be a peacemaker in a lot of places. Because you have to ask yourself the question, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? Right?
Yeah.
You might be 99% certain that you're wrong. You might even be willing to say that you're 100% wrong, or that you're 100% right. You might be willing to say you're 100% right. But I don't know that anyone can really genuinely say that. Right? Everything requires a degree of faith. At best, you could be 99%. I'll talk to people about religion. I'll have religious conversations with people in the Libertarian Party. In fact, there's a lot of Christian folks in the Libertarian Party. There's a lot of religion going on in the Libertarian Party. And because it's libertarianism, and because we all are operating in a system that prioritizes, one, free speech, and two, not like canceling each other when we disagree, because people disagree virulently on a whole lot of things. Some of this religious conversation can come right out into the open, and there's a lot of, well, you believe this and that's not biblical and that's not scriptural and whatever, right? All the anti bad faith crap all happens in there.
Okay.
But at some point over the course of the conversation, I will say, let me make you a deal. At some point, we're both going to end up on the other side, and one of us is going to turn out to be right. So when that happens, let's make a deal that whoever turns out to be right comes and finds the other one of us and helps us understand. And I
actually like that.
And I've talked to people, and some of them have said, "All right, that's fair, right?" and we'll see, and we'll make it happen. But when you do that, you have to then contemplate, what if I'm wrong? What if there's this 1% chance that this guy actually turns out to be right? Am I going to want him to come help me explain what's going on? Yeah. Right?
Okay.
Is Charlie Kirk and the great spiritual foyer having it explained to him what's really going on? Yeah. And I'm sure he's probably loving it, because I'm sure he's ready for that. But I've also had people say to me, but if I'm right, you won't exist. And I think to myself, what a terrible thing to believe, right? Like, does that sound like justice and mercy to you, right? Did you hear yourself say that just now?
Did you look behind yourself like not existing?
That's just an incredibly arrogant place to be, right? No, I'm 100% right. I know I'm 100% right. No, you don't. You are at best 99% right.
So right that you will cease to exist.
Right. That's quite a thing. Understanding that you are at best 99% right opens up room for you to be a peacemaker. It opens up room for you to say, what if I'm wrong? What if there's something that I can learn from this person? And that can start in your very own ward. Jim's talked about it, where he talks about it in that thread right there. And I think that we all live in a ward. We all exist in a ward where somebody lost their mind during lockdown hysteria and somebody else didn't. And somehow those people still have to come together and worship now. And we all exist in wards where masking became a colossal flashpoint for your testimony.
Dude, Peloponnesian Wars, we had members
100%.
calling the cops on other members during church.
Right.
Because they just thought they were so self-righteous and
you
correct.
have to figure out now how to worship alongside these people.
Those aren't people.
Well,
they will cease to
exist. I'm 100% right. You got to be willing to accept that this is a human being who made a choice. I think it's the wrong choice. I think it was a dumb choice. I think that it's a choice that is motivated by the fact that they're doom scrolling all the time, and so they just live in a state of terror. Yeah. But they're also human beings who I have to serve alongside, who I have to worship alongside. We're all going to sing the same hymn right now. We are all going to take the sacrament now.
And this is all our first times being a human.
Exactly.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
so
whenever,
so is that
whenever
person?
Brittany makes a comment, I just have to remember to put Taylor Frankie Paul right there. Just
There was a great conversation a while back on the Discord. Somebody started talking about Judas. This thread exists in the Discord, and they were saying,
Okay.
"Do you think Judas could ever be forgiven?" Right?
In which Discord? Our Discord?
The Word Radio Discord.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
So the question that was asked was, do you think that Judas could ever be forgiven? Do you think he's a son of perdition? Is he just gone for good?
Isn't he the only one that we've actually correctly said was a son of perdition,
Well,
or is that Cain?
I see. That's the thing, right? The fact that we're not quite sure, right? I think that this is a thought exercise that is probably a waste of time, but B, and this is a point that I made on the Discord, was I'm glad I don't have to make that call. Right, I don't have to judge this. Right, judgment ultimately goes to the Lord. The Lord's the one who will decide, and I think more importantly, I think that Judas is the one who will decide. Judas has to be able to forgive himself for the stuff that he did. That's part of the repentance process. And I think there are going to be people who
you're going to be where you're comfortable.
I think there are going to be people who can't forgive themselves. And I think tragically, very tragically, in relation to lockdown hysteria, Charlie Kirk, all of this madness that's happening now, I firmly believe that there will be a population of people, maybe a small one, but they'll exist. There will be people who decline celestial glory because those people will be there. There will be people who say, I cannot abide a salvation that also saves those people that I have so convinced myself were wrong here in mortality. If hearing that chills you, good, right? Because you need to sit with that for just a second and say to yourself, what if you're wrong? What if you get to the judgment bar and you're talking to your coworkers or your cohorts, your people from the ward, you're back through the veil, everyone's got clarity, and then you realize that this person who you thought was so wrong turned out either to not be wrong, or the thing that you were so upset about was of no relevance whatsoever, and everything else that they were doing was great. And you just got this huge beam in your eye while you were concentrating on the mote in theirs. And now they're going to accept exaltation and salvation, and you're stuck trying to claw this beam out of your eye.
Rock on.
If that's where you end up, if you are afraid that is where you might end up, good. Read your scriptures and pray and quit porn. Just, you got to be able to have that conversation with yourself, and you got to be able to seek that kind of humility, and you got to be able to accept that there are people in the world different from you, and that's okay.
Okay, interesting. We got a couple of other super chats right here. Gentile Ben says, interested to know what our guest thinks about Dave Smith, the anti-Semite. Just curious. Oh, did he say anti-Semite? Oh, no, he didn't. He just said, I'm just kidding. Interested to know what our guest thinks about Dave Smith. Just curious. What do you think about Dave Smith, bro?
Dave Smith's a podcaster. I think that Dave Smith has respectable anti-war views. I think that Dave Smith is getting mired down in questions of war that I think are not questions that we can answer as normal American people. There are battles around the world that people have been fighting for thousands of years, and there's no amount of American influence that's going to change that. They're going to continue to kill each other, unfortunately.
I think can we at least profit off of it? Maybe sell them some guns.
I don't think they need more. They don't need more guns. They need more McDonald's. That's what everybody needs, right? That's what is needed. What is needed is more business,
fats,
right? What is needed is more business, because
syrup.
you can be like, "Oh man, America's the great Satan," but this Big Mac is delicious.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's when people are comfortable, they don't fight. Right. We heard that from Kirk, that clip from Charlie Kirk. Right. When people are feeling like their life is going good and they've got enough to eat and they have some comforts in their lives.
Sedate them with carbohydrates.
They don't fight. Well, I'm a big dude. I love me a quarter pounder with cheese. If there's not sausage McMuffins in heaven, I'm not going.
Okay.
But that remains. The way to find peace in a lot of these places is to bring them prosperity and help them find prosperity.
So actually you could say that if you want to be the role of a peacemaker and there was somebody you disagreed with, unfortunately one of the best ways to help them out of it was to try and engage in their prosperity.
I don't know exactly what that means. Where are you going with that?
Well, the purpose of this podcast is to try and, show practical advice on how to be a peacemaker in the modern context. Well, in the modern context, if if prosperous people don't fight with each other and you want to lower the temperature and the fights in your ward,
We should help other people be prosperous.
Yeah, you would immediately, even those that you disagree with, which is a very, very hard pill to swallow.
It can be tough. It can absolutely be tough. And so there might be some subjects that you just don't talk about.
But that's the basis of the scripture. Pray for those that spitefully use you.
Yeah, being able to talk to someone and say, hey, I still want to be friends. Let's be friends, but just not talk about fill in the blank. Right? If you and your person that you want to try and be friends with can actually make that deal with yourselves, then you're like 90% of the way there.
Okay, I'm really struggling. Like,
but then I also feel like you need to proclaim truth.
Yeah, like I don't know if I could just be friends with somebody that supports third trimester abortions. Like I'm like, to me that's just like it's
demon.
It's too
find the place.
And who knows? Maybe I'm that guy that's like Judas is there. I could probably hang out with Judas easier than I could somebody that supports third trimester abortion.
Find the place where you're comfortable staying and get to that place. And for some people, that place might be very small, right? And I run into people all the time who I'm like, I don't have anything in common with this guy at all. As libertarian, there's a broad spectrum of thought on lots of ways to live your life inside the Libertarian Party. And I run into people in the Libertarian Party all the time that I think to myself, I have nothing in common with this person. Everything about this person's life is completely different from mine. And I disagree with a variety of the life choices that this person is making. But this person is still a human being. I can be polite when we encounter each other in public. And maybe that's as far as it can go. Maybe that's as far as it will ever go. But I'm polite in public.
Yeah.
And I'm polite in private. I mean, I don't then run around and talk about them behind their back.
You know what?
Right?
You know what bugs me though? Can I bring?
Hit
Can
it.
this be my therapy session?
Yeah.
Okay, so when people don't want to bring something up because they're like, no, it's so contentious and I'm a peacemaker, and then they always go to Cardin and they say, Cardin, but you could say it. You could say it. And it's almost, and I've heard those conversations a bajillion times. And I just want to be like, man up, you say it. Like, why does he have to? I don't know. So
like
that's where
almost
I'm like,
all the podcasters in the bloggernacle.
yeah,
don't
like,
have
I
the
can't
stone.
touch this. I can't. I
They
don't like
think I'm the
contention.
contentious one.
Yeah.
Because they're such, I can't even say the word cowards.
Okay.
So that's
To
what
address
I'm saying. Like,
things.
I understand, like, to keep civility and to keep peacemakers, like, just say, so there's some things we shouldn't talk about. But then also, I don't know how productive that is, too. Because then it feels fake.
It'll depend person to person.
Yeah.
We're talking about individual relationships with individual people. And so it's hard to make big blanket rules about that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's
because everybody's in a little different place. Everyone's going to be able to be treated a little different way. And the relationship between you and whoever that individual is will shift and change over time. One of you may eventually get over it. One of you may eventually come to agree with the other about something. One of you may eventually decide that this wasn't worth it in the first place. One of you may have a health scare and come to some great personal revelation about something. Yeah. There's all kinds of different things can happen. You don't know. Right, life will continue, and whatever is happening today isn't necessarily what's going to be happening tomorrow. I think that we can all, and in your ward, in your life, the real individual people around you, not the phantoms on social media, but the real people who are in your life around you, are people that you need to be interacting with, are people that you need to be trying to bring the Spirit to, as far as it is possible for you to do so. And whatever it is that takes, let the Spirit guide you. Right? Yeah. Give some thought to this, right? How do I continue to get along with this person? How do I do that? Does it mean that I just be polite in public? Maybe. Does it mean that when this person asks me to do something as part of their calling, that I just do it cheerfully without grumbling because they're approaching me for their own stewardship thing that they're doing? Yeah. You sustain each other in your callings. Right, the things that we're asked to do broadly, as you do
unless
that,
you don't like them, and then you can subvert secretly their callings to make them
or
look
talk
bad,
about them behind their back the whole time in the
Yes.
kitchen while you're doing the dishes after the word meal.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
You're setting up
whoever
chairs.
signs up to clean up afterwards, that's something you're never
yeah.
saying.
Oh my goodness.
Fools.
Or whoever signed up to clean up last time didn't actually do any of this, and so
Yeah.
now everything's all spotted and gross in here. We have to wash all the dishes again
and name names.
and name names. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
We are all jaded right
So
now.
yeah,
don't
for
do
real.
that. Just don't do that. Just refrain from doing all of that.
Hold on. I gotta give some shout outs here really fast, and then we're gonna go to the next 3 super chats.
Sorry, yeah,
okay?
my phone has been dead since the beginning.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I got the super chats,
Okay,
babe.
cool.
I got you. It's for all those you being my property jokes earlier. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm just hooking you up. See, it's give and take. It's give and take, right?
Actually, I don't mind being your property.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, clip me antis. Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
There's the clip.
So
Right?
anyway,
Right along with quit porn.
we got to give some really cool shout outs to some sponsors. And there's actually a really interesting movie coming out that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. This is I just saw it and I'm curious to get your man. I got to give you I'm going to see if I can't get you a screener, you know what I'm saying, for the movie Truth and Treason that's coming out.
That's the Helmuth Hubner thing.
Yeah, because like I actually
there was like a little docu thing on that. There's about an hour-long documentary in the 90s about that kid.
Yes, there was, and there was a play that was also done. But I'm really excited for this movie to come out because I actually think it kind of toys with some of the themes that we're discussing right now. Like, you want to be peacemakers with people in your congregation, but like, what do you do when the bishop gets up, you know, and says, we believe in the articles of faith, that we believe in being subject to principalities and kings and princes and rulers and upholding and sustaining the law? Well, what do you do when those principalities and those kings and that law is the Third Reich and it's Nazis? And you're tasked with being a Christian. You're tasked with being a peacemaker. You're tasked with upholding and sustaining the law. Well, but wait, upholding and sustaining the law literally means like turning in one of my friends or committing a war crime or so on and so forth. So I think it's such a good time for a movie like this to ask these questions. And Angel Studios has actually come out with a movie coming out that was written by Matt Whitaker, actually the guy that directed Saints and Soldiers, and is coming out. And I've invited him to come on the program. Actually, he, if you guys want to talk to Matt Whitaker, I might be able to actually make that happen tomorrow. Let me know in the chat if you guys want to talk to the director of Truth and Treason, because this movie's coming out September 22nd, and it's pretty rad. I'm going to see if I can't get us some kind of, I don't know if there's a coupon code or a discount or how that would work out, but we're definitely going to be talking a lot about this, and I'm really excited. So I'm going to get you a screener for sure, because that actually ties into one of our next super chats. Richard Stafford says, Loren Dean is
Richard
great.
Stafford.
Have
I love
you read
Richard.
his Substack? I didn't know you had a Substack.
I do have a Substack.
Well, hit me. What is it?
LorenDean.substack.com.
If I get you a screener for Truth and Treason, would you do a review on it from a libertarian perspective?
I actually review movies on my Substack.
Oh, shut up! Really?
As I happen to see a movie, I will write
Pornographic
a review
movies?
Well, those don't require reviews. Those are all the same.
Oh, no.
Quit the porn.
That's what I'm going to say. You're like a walking, talking anti-porn commercial. I love it. It's hilarious. So anyway.
Hey, you know what? I had my glory days. There it is, right?
So you were a performer. Interesting. What was that like?
That's right. I was in The Whale.
Yeah, Angel Studios is going to call me up and be like, no
doubt. You can't talk about that in the same breath as this thing. What are you doing? What's wrong with you?
No, do not. So that's okay. That's interesting. You got a Substack. What are you, like a philosopher on Substack? I didn't know about. I don't have Substack. I'm not.
Substack's really Substack's a very cool platform.
Really?
I really dig Substack.
Okay.
Substack cropped up about I want to say it was like 2020, 2021.
Yeah, okay.
Right as everybody was getting canceled off Twitter, in the grip of lockdown hysteria, right? Like there were huge purges going on Twitter. All the stuff that's been since revealed about, government collusion with social
the Twitter
media
files,
right? All the Twitter files
Matt
stuff.
Taibbi,
Matt Taibbi.
all of that.
Matt Taibbi's a big publisher on Substack. He's making his living on Substack.
Really?
Yeah. Matt Taibbi's Substack is one of the few that I actually pay for on Substack.
Interesting. Okay.
Substack as a platform is built as a newsletter engine. So I view it as kind of an evolution of blogging. So you create a newsletter. Basically, it's much like what you would get if you were sending somebody an email on MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever. It's one column, text, and so it's built for like medium form writing. is what it's built for. And it's essayists, right, in the classic sense, essays on stuff, the same kind of stuff that you get from Emerson or Thoreau or something like that, right? And there are some writers on Substack that are that caliber. There are some really, really excellent writers on Substack, and some really excellent dissident writers on Substack. People that you'll read and be like, that seems a little extreme, but he's making his case. I see what he means. I don't fully agree, but I see what he means, and I understand what he's saying here. Everything is subscription based. And you can run different paid tiers if you want. And if you make a paid tier, then Substack takes a cut, and that's how they make their money. So there's no ads, there's no pop-ups, there's none of that.
Interesting.
The interface is super clean, and it's all about the writing. That's what it's about.
Okay.
And some of the writing on Substack is absolutely awesome.
So you think, well, because what's very interesting, I've said that I lament the loss of the newspaper.
Right.
It was a social fabric was created around the newspaper, and you could be a newspaper writer, and the newsrooms were exciting, and it was fun working at a newspaper. And I haven't really found a modern analog to that. I argue that I lament the loss of the golden era of radio, but I would actually argue that the talent of the golden era of radio guys are effective live streamers now. Okay. I think a modern analog to live streaming and the kind of live talent that it requires to do a live stream is similar to the analog era in the 20s and the 30s, pre-war of the golden era of radio, all the way actually into the 50s and 60s when like Rod Serling was doing Twilight Zone and all of that. So you would say that Substack is the natural evolution. Could it be maybe the modern newspaper?
I'm not sure that I would go to newspaper. I'd be inclined to say magazine first.
Okay, fair.
But
periodical.
But, yeah, it's a definitely a periodical. And if you subscribe to somebody, then you get all of their work just into your email box. So you're going to get an email copy of every article that you from the Substacks that you're subscribed to. And then of course you can also read it on the web. And of course there's all like and subscribe commentary, and they've got their own little quasi Twitter social feed thing that's kind of attached to that. So that's as social media as I get. That's the only one that I've got on my phone is Substack.
Oh, interesting. Okay, next super chat here really fast. I got a couple more here. The delightful, I can't read what the rest of this says. The delightful, I can't see it. The delightful something here says, this
You're
makes
a delight,
me think,
delightful.
Yes, this makes me think about the change to the For Strength of Youth and Mission Handbook, work together to come closer to God. That's lovely. Rebecca Helm comes out and says, Satan leads us into inaction or lashing out in the name of peace. Doctrine and Covenants 50:32-33 is a good pattern for peacemakers. Oh, this actually brings, hey, might as well just give the shout out right now to our sponsor, Scripture Notes, and just go trying to dig up exactly what she was just saying, because I confess I do not have committed to memory Doctrine and Covenants 50 through 32. So I'm going to the library right here. Actually, you guys are just going to see in real time exactly how you do this in Scripture Notes. It's actually kind of cool. There's this AI named Daniel that can like help you write your church talks, bro. Did you know that? Next time you got to write a church talk, screw Substack, man. You just use Daniel on.
Just bust out your AI. Just out your AI.
Yeah. Okay.
Talk.
So Doctrine and
Awful.
Covenants. Hold on. 50:20-23. So Doctrine and Covenants 50, then 20-23. Okay. So we come down here. Doctrine and Covenants 50:20-23. If it be some other way, it is not of God. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to start at 19. It says, and again, he that receiveth the word of truth, doth he receive it by the spirit of truth, or by some other way? And then he continues to say, if it be by some other way, it is not of God. Therefore, why is it that ye cannot understand, and how that he that receiveth the word by the spirit of truth received it, as it is preached by the spirit of truth? Wherefore he that preacheth it and he that receiveth it understand one another, and both are edified and rejoice together. And that which doth not edify is not of God, and is of darkness. Okay, I think that's true. And we have to be peacemakers, especially when amongst fellow members. But like, what do you do when, for example, in the case of Helmuth Hubner and the Nazis, what do you do when they're like, you turn around the corner and the Nazis are beating your friend because he's Jewish? You're not going to go up to the Stasi. You're not going to go up to to the SS and just be like, let me reason with you together right now, brother, that you might feel the spirit and understand that we are children born of a...
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and it's...
So
I
it
think,
seems like there are parameters to this that don't exist that we all have to deal with. Or sorry, parameters to this that like... You get what I'm saying, that there's like not exceptions to the rule, but like there's just a point where that stops working.
And I think that it is very hard to try and create some litmus test that always applies to whenever that point is. That point is going to be very, very individual and very, very personal, and very specific to the time and place that you find yourself. As much as I got a lot of respect for Helmut Hübner and his willingness to do the things that he did and take the stand that he did. But I think that it's important to note, as terrible an opinion as this is going to sound, he didn't accomplish anything. I don't know that he changed anybody's mind. He just got himself arrested and beheaded and got one of his friends sentenced to 5 years of hard labor. So it's hard to look at Helmut Hübner and say, like he was a crusader who accomplished a thing. And again, I don't want to take away from the fact that it took a lot of courage to do what he did.
Yeah, but
I'm reminded as I'm sitting here of like the Nephites who were captured and prayed for deliverance, and they were instead given strength to bear their burdens. They were given the strength to bear up under the tasks that were laid on them. They weren't delivered; they were strengthened instead. And
so, are you suggesting that was a moral mishap to have like it was a misstep to have?
Was it wrong for Hübner to do that? I don't necessarily think so. I don't know. I'm not him. I'm glad I don't have to make that call. But broadly speaking, if we try to use the example of Hübner to say this is the way that you deal with fascism, well, not always, right? Because we have
dude, they
examples.
killed 3 out of 4 of my great aunts and uncles in labor camps, dude.
I'm not going to sit here and try and defend Nazis.
Yeah,
that's why Charlie Kirk's dead.
Yeah, yeah. See, I look at that and I think, isn't there value in just like I've said this before all the time, and I said this about Mallory when she was on the Dr. Daft show, and even though she got lured into a Protestant evangelical anti-Mormon hit piece argument that she didn't know was coming. And I just said, good on you, girl, because when the believers had to stand and be counted, you stood and you were counted.
Sure.
And even in Spartacus, you could make the same argument that you made against Helmut Hübner, saying like, well, if it didn't work out, should he have prayed for to bear his burdens better or whatever? Like, couldn't you say like Spartacus when he stands up and says, I am Spartacus? Well, he didn't accomplish anything other than getting himself crucified, but like that you have to, or else they win. And in specific, depending on the specific instance, depending on who you are, where you're at, that might be the course that you find yourself leading, right? And if Hübner believed that this was the stand he needed to make, and he felt like he was spiritually prepared and compelled to do that, power to him. Mad respect. I got a lot of respect for that. I got a lot of respect for anybody who is willing to stand up against like some horrible stuff and say, I don't support this. Okay. Right? I'm not on this side. But what I feel like I need to re-highlight is that that's not always going to be the solution. Sometimes you're going to pray and you're going to say, what do I do about this terrible thing that's happening in the world? And rather than being prompted to stand up and do something, you're going to be prompted to just keep working, and you'll be given the strength to bear up under the burdens that are placed upon you. You don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. That's going to happen. That's going to vary. That's going to vary situation to situation. It's going to vary person to person. It's going to vary situation to situation. But these things are all in the Lord's hands. These things are all in God's hands. And God knows what it is that you need to do in this particular moment to achieve the potential that you can achieve, learn the things that you need to learn. Abinadi was certainly told that it was his job to stand the whole time, right? And that he was supposed to stand in front of tyranny, and he was supposed to accept whatever came his way as a result. He understood that. That's what he did. Is Hübner and Abinadi? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So I was just going to say that this has been a very interesting conversation the past couple of days as I've contemplated this whole peacemaker challenge as well. just because like I've studied how other people do it, and I think it's so interesting. Like Charlie Kirk takes a Shabbat every Friday night to Saturday night, putting his phone in a drawer. And did you see that?
Yeah.
I did not, but that sounds like a great
And his
idea.
wife said like it just did like amazing miracles in their family, in their relationship, everything.
And yeah, actually, I think I put this into the Discord. I think I'm going to play that because I was actually very much moved by what he said.
He was like, the world cannot get a hold of me for a full 24 hours.
And that's probably okay.
So look, this is interesting.
In fact, it's almost certainly okay.
Yeah. So this is a tweet from Tweet is the Work, and she said, maybe I'll stop posting on Shabbat in honor of Charlie Kirk. And here's the tweet right here. I thought it was intriguing to see what Charlie said here. It just went to her profile right now, and here it is. I found it. Here it is.
No work. You are meant to turn your phone off for one day. No contact. No social media. No work. Your mental health will improve dramatically. So every Friday night, I take a Jewish Sabbath, turn off my phone Friday night to Saturday night. The world cannot reach me, and I get nothing from the world. It will bless you infinitely. And I could be traveling for 5 or 6 days, but if I at least get one good Sabbath with my family, it charges all back up.
I'm just pausing for copyright.
When he turns his phone off and it goes in that drawer, he's all on for the family.
Pause for copyright.
There's no distractions, and he finally gets to reset his brain. He finally gets to breathe. And as a wife, there is nothing more precious than my husband's sanity when it comes to everything that he's dealing with in his world. So I have seen it change him and impact our family in one of the most beautiful ways.
Except for he's a Cubs fan. There had to have been one flaw. That was it. No, I'm just kidding. Beautiful, beautiful message. Absolutely.
Are you going to start
message
doing that?
From it's inspired me very much so.
You ready to take the plunge?
I think I wouldn't be able to do it on a Friday night to a Saturday night, but I would do it on a Sunday. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a great exercise. I think for everybody to engage in too. There are a lot of people who are listening to this right now who are probably thinking to themselves, "Well, I mean, like I could do that. Yeah, do it. Right. So put your phone down for an hour. Put it across the room.
Oh, and you forgot the other thing you were about to say. Look in the camera and say,
and quit porn.
Sorry, let's let him finish.
Family, much tighter knit. And it says very clearly in the scriptures, for 6 days you shall work, and the seventh day you shall rest. It was important enough that God put it as one of the 10 Commandments, and God rested after creation. Go back to God's natural rhythm. That is a day to go be with God and be out of the busyness and the hurriedness, noise of this world.
Geez, yeah. So actually, I think if a lot of our division is at the root of probably being perpetually online, I think the younger generation is actually better at recognizing this and contextualizing online issues than maybe some of Gen Z and millennials
and
are.
I think there are a lot of young parents who are recognizing this too. I think there are a lot of young parents now who are very cognizant of their children's screen time in ways that a previous generation of parents were not.
Yeah,
they're very, very careful about the way that they have screen. My son. I'm going to the second birthday of my first granddaughter next week.
Oh, okay, cool.
My son and his little family, and they are very careful about giving little 2-year-old Natasha screens. Mm-hmm. Like they're just not around. She doesn't have one of those Kindles with the big rubber bumper on it, that they're giving to toddlers, and then they just rot.
I call it the electronic babysitter.
That's exactly.
And I say, get out of here, young child.
Right. That's exactly.
3 hours of screen time. Parent code.
Yep.
No, okay.
Yep.
Wow. Interesting.
They're very, very careful with that, and it's I love it. I'm glad for them.
Okay. Excellent. Then really fast, we got a couple of other super chats right here. Rebecca Helm says, it was DNC 50, 32 to 33, not 19 to 23, but that works too. I'm an idiot.
It's all scripture.
Hold
it's
on,
all good.
Hold on.
We read some scripture. It was great.
Okay, wait. I'm such an idiot. Holy smoke. If there's any question of whether or not we're doing this like live, there's your answer right there.
It's live on the internet.
So we're going to go to scripture notes. Look, I was just doing it trying to get another super chat, Rebecca. Okay, it was on purpose. You got bamboozled. No, I'm just kidding. So 32 says, and it shall be given unto you power over that spirit, and you shall proclaim against that spirit with a loud voice that it is not of God. Not with railing accusation, that ye be not overcome, neither with boasting nor rejoicing, lest ye be seized therewith. Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
This is the danger of taking the stand, right? When you say, look, I feel like I've got to take a stand here. I feel like I've got to take a stand. Are you doing that because you have to take the stand, or are you doing that because you want to be seen taking a stand against something? It's clout chasing in its own way.
It's like the people that give to the homeless community and then they post about it. It's like,
right, exactly.
Kind of rubs me the wrong way.
I have to take this stand against tyranny, and I have to be sure to make a little quick TikTok about it. Right, that look at me taking my stand against tyranny.
Yeah, it's virtue signaling.
You want to be seen doing that. It's very much a virtue signaling thing. If that's your motivation, you need to stop and rethink, and it's worth stopping before you do it to say, why am I doing this? And track that scenario forward a couple of moves and ask yourself, we've already talked about this, what if I'm wrong? What if I jump up and denounce this thing and it turns out it's wrong? In what scenario could I be wrong? How might I be wrong here? Right? And once you start asking yourself those questions, you'll get faster and faster at tracking that thing forward. And you'll find that you hold back more often, and you do it in a way that is wise, and you can see why. You'll see
more
why.
often, and you do it in a way that is
you will
wise.
You will not yell at people as often. You'll not yell at people as often, and you'll realize that was a really good idea.
But don't you kind of feel that some people actually need to have been yelled at a little bit more?
Sure, maybe.
I'm sorry.
Maybe.
Like everybody right now, I'll tell you this much right now. Kurt Franklin oftentimes talks a lot about codependency. How you can't be codependent, that it's a toxic relationship, that unless somebody is happy, I can't be happy. So that person just keeps not being happy as a rhetorical and relationally abusive tool to keep me unhappy. And I need to be strong enough to realize, look, if they're not happy, that's on them and that's their problem. But I'm going to maintain my peace, right? It's called codependency, right? Sure. Well, I kind of feel like that in our wealth, as Mormons in post-war America, we've been so codependent and worried that like what the American left is doing, celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, what I see on Blue Sky, what I see on Twitter and the American left, this is absolutely disgusting. And you can only get to that place where you're literally celebrating this crap after years of codependent conservatives not pushing back on all of your horrible statements to such a degree that you feel now that you can celebrate the assassination of Charlie Kirk just openly and in public, and you will not be shunned. But I feel we need to bring ostracism back.
Well, social media has allowed us to self-ostracize. Social media has allowed everybody to jump in their own little silo and in their own little echo chamber where they don't ever experience any pushback. They just don't. And we've seen in the wake of the Kirk death, I've seen multiple testimonials of people who said, I watched this video of Charlie Kirk's and he talked to somebody who felt exactly the same way I did. And the way he handled that conversation was inspiring to me to rethink my position on a thing. People who have talked to Charlie Kirk and gone on the Charlie Kirk show have come out with a whole series of testimonials and said Charlie Kirk was a fair-minded man, and talking to Charlie Kirk, even if you disagreed with him, you could understand his humanity and he understood your humanity. Those are all things that happen in individual conversations where people are talking face-to-face with each other. And social media allows us to never have to talk face-to-face with each other. We just get validation from the screen over and over and over again on that steady dopamine drip. And so, you eventually turn into a horrifying mutant ghoul who delights in death and destruction because that's what's giving you the dopamine hit now. And that's gross. And that's sad. It's tragic. It's really tragic. Because this is another human being. And this human being will pass back through the veil, achieve clarity, and say, oh no. Right? What did I do to myself? What did I allow to have done to me? That's going to be awful. There's going to be people who pass back through the veil. I mean, we're all going to pass back through the veil and have some time soul searching. None of us are going to pass back through the veil and be like, yay. We're all going to have to take a minute, right? To reorient.
I don't know. I might just only take like 30 seconds.
Some people longer, some people shorter, and some people longer. I believe that. But I think there are going to be some people who pass back through the veil and say, oh no, and want desperately to go and hide.
Really?
And it's going to be really, really important for like us, if we happen to be on the other side of the veil, right? And I'm sure that there are plenty of people who are going to do this on the other side of the veil, who are going to have to coax people out from under the bench or whatever to say, you know, let's have a conversation about what happened. Let's put it in context. Let's figure it all out here so that you can internalize what's happened to you. You can spiritually metabolize stuff that's happened to you.
Okay, so you're an Elders Quorum. We're just going to start rapid firing a couple more super chats and a couple more practical scenarios here.
Okay.
You're an Elders Quorum, and this guy comes to you and says, people who believe in cancel culture will dance when one of us dies and then tell us we can't come after them because we don't believe in cancel culture. Like I've been saying earlier, no, they believe in cancel culture. They should be made to live by it too.
What is cancel culture?
Oh, come on, you know what that is.
Well, no, I know exactly what it means, but the question then has to be asked, well, who was canceled and what does that mean? Because in many instances, I think that it is not as bad as people make it out to be.
Losing your job for sincerely held religious or political beliefs.
Now, okay, all right, that is kind of an issue. I am concerned. I would be concerned about what exactly the specifics are of that.
I know people. Come on, during COVID, how many people totally lost their jobs? Like, I got to tell you, right now, I heard that there's people on Reddit that are mining blue sky for all of the people that are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And I'm sorry, but I think it's okay that DC Comics fired their trans comic book writer that was celebrating, like openly mocking Charlie Kirk and
that's
saying,
gross stuff.
I don't even want to repeat what they said, you know? And it's like, I'm okay with that. I think we need ostracism back. Like, because
I don't know, freedom of association is a thing. What is it that this guy in Elders Quorum is asking to do? Like, he wants to be able to cancel somebody else?
You know what?
Or is he just venting about cancel culture?
Okay, let me. Actually, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into our Ward Radio group chat, which has been just on fire today. And I'm going to find the little Michael Knowles tweet that I put in there, and I'm going to put it on the screen. Until I do, though, I'm just going to give a really fast shout out for the 2025 Go and Do Travel Wave Makers Tour. If you guys want to hang out with the most handsome podcasters in the game, there they are.
Look at these
right
guys.
there. Greg Madsen, Jacob Hansen, Hayden and Jackson Paul, followed quickly behind by David Boyce and Dave Butler. Jasmine Rappley is also going to be there, and yours truly will make an appearance. Going to be embarking from San Diego, coming back to San Diego. It's a week from November 15th all the way to the 22nd. Looks like it's actually going to be a pretty cool and fun tour. If you guys want to save some money on that tour, make sure that you guys use the coupon code WARDRadio10, I believe it is, to receive 10% off of the Wave Makers Tour. But it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be pretty cool, and you can save a little bit of money. Now I'm also going to jump back.
What do your events look like on that cruise? Is it like a daily show?
You know, I'm supposed to have that planned out already, but I don't.
Oh, sorry.
I think actually, I just kidding.
Sorry, I brought it up.
I got a rough idea. I have two ideas of what I want to do. I either want to do a like live show.
Okay.
Like actually bring some cool equipment on board, see if I can actually produce a live show. Or I want to be able to do actually a presentation on, I don't know if I should say it right here, but it sufficeth to say a presentation on the great success of our digital mission in both the U.S. and in Africa, in Brooklyn, in some parts of Europe. There's some really cool and inspiring stories with some 501c3s that I'm also working with that will like blow your mind, and I think a lot of people will be very pleased to see. So anyway, that might be my presentation on the Wave Makers LDS Podcast Cruise, and hopefully this actually becomes like a yearly thing. I think that's what the company's going for, and they're actually pretty cool guys. They got great other tours as well. I went on their Gospel on the Nile tour, like checking out all the Book of Abraham stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, that's actually like super based and cool. Like those videos are coming out pretty soon, and I'm actually really, really stoked. So anyway, let me put this back on the screen, and I want to see what your thoughts are on this. Okay, here's 2 tweets that I retweeted this morning. One is just visual, and then another one is from our boy Michael Knowles. Tell me what you think of both of these and how they apply to this conversation.
Ostracism.
Okay.
I think.
Wait, hold on. So the first one is this, and I'll pull it up so that everybody can see it. There's a new political divide forming, says some guy named Austin Allred. If you celebrate when an innocent person whose political view is different from you is assassinated, you're gone. Don't care what that person's political persuasion is or how strongly you disagree with them. Can't think of one counterexample. And it's kind of true. I mean, even Brad Whitbeck was saying this. I have never seen more disgusting and more just gross left-wing behavior in America than this celebration of the death of Charlie Kirk. And
the calling for the nexts. That's a delightfully disgusting sulfurous belch in the whole thing.
What the calling for the
calling
next
for
one?
the next? Yeah, Trump next.
Oh yeah. Okay, I thought you were saying
Or the
next.
people that
Ben
are
Shapiro
like,
next. Yeah.
Even the people that aren't like so outward celebrating, but are saying things like, "I condone political violence, and I don't agree with him being shot, but."
But he had it coming.
He was a horrible person,
yeah, it's like
if he didn't want to get shot in the neck, he shouldn't have worn that skirt.
By the way, and before you say this isn't a real thing, like look at this. I'm going to put something on the screen. This is not some fringe Antifa black bloc leftist here. What we're
the
about
best part of this whole
what I'm about to show you is literally like this is unfortunately a lot more mainstream, just liberal thought than we would like to admit, but it's right here. So I'm just going to play this really fast. Yep, there it is. I mean, I can't believe that I'm seeing this, but here we go on your screen. This is the modern left in America, dude. Oh, come on. What? Here we are.
Martyr material.
Okay.
So his death,
the
best part of this whole goddamn thing is that he is not martyr material. So his death will mean nothing. It will activate no one. It will impact few. It's just great.
It's just like literal celebration. I mean, near tears of joy. And this is one of the lighter ones that I actually feel comfortable showing on the screen.
Oh, yeah, there's some way worse ones than that.
Yeah, there's far worse ones. And so when I see that, I can't say that I disagree with this take that we're going to watch on Michael Knowles about ostracism, which ironically to me is the antithesis of peacemaking. But sometimes I think you got to get through Gethsemane in order to make it to you have to go through the suffering of Gethsemane before you can make it to the Mount of Olives, right? Anybody that's been there in Jerusalem realizes. So sometimes I wonder, is part of our peacemaking as a society learning to ostracize a disgusting and unfortunately far too mainstream people in our society that are seemingly somehow okay with political violence as long as it's somebody they don't agree with? Is that a Gethsemane we have to go through as a society in order to get normalcy back?
Ostracism.
There's a lot of people that feel this way about ostracism. So I'm just going to play this little 30-second soundbite.
I think we need a little bit more ostracism for the people who are celebrating the cold-blooded murder of a man who only ever wanted to talk it out. I think those people need to lose their jobs. I think those people need to be expelled from polite society. And they can have a little book club themselves where they can dance gleefully at the murder of innocent people, but they should not be permitted into polite society. I think we need clarity and force on that front in the government, in the educational institutions, in corporate America, in society.
Okay, so
yeah, words carry meaning, and
Sure.
people need to figure out that there's consequences. And I think for so many years, there hasn't really been a consequence. You could say whatever heinous thing you want to about anybody online without any consequence. And unfortunately, I don't know. I think a lot of people pulled emotional triggers. I do. Maybe you didn't do a physical trigger and shot Charlie Kirk, but I think a lot of people are pulling emotional triggers.
Well, in law, this is called emotional. It's called relative harm. And the question is, are 1,000 paper cuts more damaging than one slice with a kitchen knife? And I would argue that 1,000 paper cuts are a lot more damaging. And I've seen people all day with supercuts on all the heinous things the left has said over the past 10 years that are just basically stochastic terrorism. That goes completely unchecked. Politicians who have never had any accountability or paid any kind of price. Meanwhile, if one person accidentally laughs at a Nick Fuentes meme around the water cooler, like they can't get a job for 20 years in the private sector, right? And it's like, my problem is I don't think that like the right wing or the left wing, both of them have their crazies. Both of them have their problems, but we seem to only censure one side. Like ever. And to such a point that people feel validated assassinating somebody like Charlie Kirk, who was not the far right winger. He was literally the negotiator.
Yeah.
They killed the negotiator, not the. These aren't the dudes up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, trying to, I'm shine their AK-47s for the glorious day.
I'm
they
seeing
get
a lot of
secede.
commentary on that, right? Is you just shot the guy who wanted to talk it out. We just heard Knowles say it, right? And I've heard other people say similar things, right? Charlie Kirk was the guy who actually wanted to talk about it. He was the debate me bro guy, and you shot him in the throat. So the guy who comes next is not going to be the debate me bro guy. Like there are people being radicalized by this.
Well, yeah. So I feel this, like when Michael Knowles speaks, I feel as much a necessity in his words. And some people might say, well, you're not a very good Mormon if you feel the same necessity of Russell M. Nelson's word. Like Russell M. Nelson's words in Peacemaking settle in my heart because I trust prophets. Okay, I trust prophets, and I think that Russell M. Nelson sees further than I do in many regards, right?
I think there is a very important piece of that we can't lose sight of, and it's easy to lose sight of, and especially in a situation like this. And that is that there are going to be a lot of calls here, and we all kind of want to do it to talk about what we need to do next. There's a lot of we's about what we need to do next, what society must do next, what the government must do next. There's these big groups and these big movements, these big we's that we have to do next. I think that President Nelson's peacemaking urgency is not targeted at the we. It is targeted at you. It's targeted at each of us individually to get us to ask ourselves, what can I do to increase peace in the places where I find myself?
I fear maybe I have not been as vocal or combative enough with people with heinous, even what used to be heinous left-wing views are like actually just like mainstream liberal ones now, but like maybe dude, I'm an exterminator by trade, man. Like I understand if German cockroaches have infested a restaurant, you will not have a healthy food supply coming out of that restaurant until you get really comfortable really fast with exterminating a lot of living organisms. So if you're a true environmentalist, if you're a true balance in the natural world order and everything, you're not going to kumbaya your way into a healthy food supply. You're not going to incense and sound bowl your way out of a German cockroach infestation. You need a bunch of toxic masculinity and a bunch of toxic chemicals and somebody who's trained in the arts of using those toxic things to exterminate the pest population that is making the food supply gross and sick. And until that is done, you can never achieve new balance again. So if we're looking for balance, if we're looking for a society that is healthy, I think we have to be able to exterminate bad, toxic, violent ideologies in our society, and that means we get less codependent real fast, Kirk Franklin style, and that we also, and I'm sorry to invoke your name, Kurt, but you're the one that I learned this term from, and then we have to get we have to start ostracizing, like excommunicating bad actors, spreading bad ideologies throughout our society, standing up Michael Knowles style to those who would dance or celebrate this. I love that there's Reddit bros that are mining all of Blue Sky right now and developing an algorithm to start sending all of the tweets that they themselves had, screenshots of their tweets, to their employers and saying, do you know your employee, somebody who's literally celebrating the day of Charlie Kirk's death, that he died? Like, great. I actually think, like, I view that from like an exterminator's perspective, as it seems like that's the only way we can ever get this engine back in balance again, that we can have a decent society. And I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to balance that with Russell M. Nelson's speech and Christ's admonitions in the Bible. And I don't know if I can.
Well, again, it's hard to do. It's hard to talk about what we should do, because we is a very nebulous thing. I think that where Nelson is going is the only place that he can go, and it's where Christ went, and it's for each individual person and each individual person's heart to figure out how to be a peacemaker in your individual sphere. And in the aggregate, what you end up with is that you end up with not ever having an infestation of cockroaches, because you've taken care of the problem before the problem started, because people have been peacemakers.
Okay, but we're here now.
Now, I'm prepared to admit that there are going to be some specific instances where bad things are going to have to happen. And that's the nature of humanity. That's the world in which we live. I get that. But even then, those big bad things are going to happen as an aggregation of lots of individual choices.
How do you feel about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints having its own secret police?
Does the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have its own secret police?
I don't know, but I've been an advocate for a paramilitary organization and intelligence for a while.
I suspect that's a neither can confirm or deny kind of a thing right there.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, so
do the Danites still exist? I don't know.
Yeah.
How many more super chats? I'm getting guys.
Yeah, last one right here. Last one. So Richard Stafford says, read DNC 98. CFM will tell you to not. It tells you what to do about unconstitutional law, the Lord's law, and self-defense, and why Nephi actually killed Laban. Hint, it's not in First Nephi.
Huh? Oh, this is the if somebody wrongs you, you forgive them. If they wrong you, forgive them again. If they wrong you the third time, they're in your hands.
I'm going to look this one up. Going to scripture notes. Yeah. So he said Doctrine and Covenants 98. Okay, tell me this. Why do I have a feeling that like Mormon libertarians, like they love this verse? When I was a kid, you know how in priest quorum you had to get up and you had to recite, "Behold, the field is white, all ready to harvest."
DNC4, baby.
Yeah, yep. Any man that thrusts in with his sickle. Is this what libertarian Mormons do? Do they just rehearse Section 98 when they get together in their enclaves after they're done playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, you got to keep in mind that in libertarian thought, self-defense is completely legit and entirely cool.
Okay.
And so you should in fact defend yourself when you are aggressed against. You need to ask yourself some very clear questions though about, am I actually being aggressed against? Is my response going to be proportionate to what's going on, or am I going to overreact now and make myself feel really good by leveling a building or some such thing like that, by shooting someone, by killing someone? Does my retaliation require? So fundamentally, I think what the Lord is setting up here is it's multiple wrongs, right? It's kind of an extension of the question that Peter asks Christ: how many times should I forgive my neighbor, right? And Christ says 70 times 7. This is an instance, and I forget the exact historical context here, but God essentially says you get 3 tries, right? Someone can wrong you, and by you I mean he kind of means
here's
saints.
Verse 25. And again, if your enemy shall smite you and if you now I speak unto you concerning your families. If men will smite you or your families once, and you bear it patiently and revile it not against them, neither seek revenge, ye shall be rewarded. But if you bear it not patiently, it shall be accounted unto you as being meted out as a just measure unto you. And again, if your enemy shall smite you the second time, and revile not against your enemy, and bear it patiently, your reward shall be 100-fold. And again, if he shall smite you the third time, and you bear it patiently, your reward shall be doubled unto you 4-fold. So now we're on the third time. And these 3 testimonies shall stand against your enemy if you repent not, and shall not be blotted out. And now verily I say unto you, if that enemy shall escape my vengeance, that he be not brought unto judgment before me, then you shall see to it that you warn him in my name, and that he come no more upon you, neither upon your family, even upon your children's children, unto the 3rd and 4th generation. And then if he shall come upon you, or your children's children, unto the 3rd and 4th generation, I have delivered thine enemy into thine hands. Oh, and then if thou wilt spare him, thou shalt be rewarded for thy righteousness, and also thy children and thy children's children unto the 3rd and 4th generation. Nevertheless, thine enemy is in thine hands, and if thou rewardest him according to his works, thou art justified. If he has sought thy life, and thy life is endangered by him, thine enemy is thine hands, and thou art justified. Wow, these are the base scriptures that they always gloss over in the Book of Mormon.
Right, and keep in mind,
and it takes the libertarians to bring that out. And keep in mind
that this is directed to the early saints. You didn't talk about people who got canceled, right? We're talking about the early saints. We're talking about getting mobbed out of Independence, and getting mobbed out of Kirtland, and getting mobbed out of Nauvoo, and having an extermination order placed on you, right? So God is laying out some guidelines here to say, look, you bore it and you bore it and you bore it, but there's going to come a point where you are allowed to say no more. That point may come.
And thine enemy is in thine hands.
It's important, I think, to keep in mind that God gives some options here. Right, and he says you could keep forgiving it, in which case this will be counted to your benefit, etc., etc. You will learn, you will grow, you'll become a better person. We'll have a conversation about it on the other side of the veil, and you will recognize the benefit of having done that. But if you feel like you need to respond in kind, if you feel like you have to defend yourself, then I'm not necessarily going to hold it against you. Right, that's basically what God's laying out here. Now, what does that have to do with Laban? It's super based, right? But what does that have to do with Laban? Well, Nephi and his brothers went to Laban, and they asked him for the plates, and he said no. And they tried to buy the plates, and he said no. And then he chased him around and tried to kill him. Right. So this pattern shows up in a way in First Nephi. Right, where they tried to work with Laban, he did them wrong repeatedly. And so he was delivered into Nephi's hands, right? And Nephi had a choice, and he took that choice. He made a choice. Did he necessarily have to kill him? Well, an angel showed up and told him that it was fine if he did, right? But he didn't actually tell him to do it, remember, right? He said it's better for one man to die than for a nation to dwindle, right? Nephi wasn't, oh, no, that's not true. Nephi was commanded to behead him, wasn't he?
I believe. Yeah,
I think he was. Take up his sword and kill him. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Nephi was greenlit to do that, right? And that came at the back end of multiple wrongs that we see in D&C 98 as a pattern creator there, as a pattern explainer.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Those things are possible. Those things are plausible, but those things are very situational.
Okay. I feel like we've gotten closer. I feel like you're much more there, and I've gotten closer, I should say, to kind of understanding where God sits and looks down on us in terms of peacemaking in even the most turbulent of times.
Right.
I liked a movie called Firefly, where the doctor had to forgive the guy that had tried to kill them, and he said, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "Because I don't see any other way that this will work." Because they were all trapped on the spaceship together. And so I think that we're all trapped on this world together, and I don't see any other way that this works than just by learning to forgive. And it's the most difficult part of the gospel.
It's incredibly hard.
So anyway.
And you can practice it in your ward, and you can practice it in your community, and that will make you a good person in your community. So that when things collapse, and they will, people can look to you as a good person in your community, and you can actually do some real good.
And steal your food storage.
You're never going to be able to ride out of the wilderness in a crisis and say, "Hey, everybody, I have the answer," and expect it to be listened to. Never. You have to be in your community. People have to know you. They have to know that you're a good person. They have to know that you are a solid and honorable and spiritual person. And then you can be listened to in a time of crisis. That can't happen if you're not there now.
Okay, that's the Mormon Libertarian Non-Aggression Pact that we just formed on this show, apparently. So, yeah.
Anyway. And porn free.
Oh yeah, and quit looking at porn too. So, all right, awesome. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us, Loren. We unfortunately got to go. If people want to know more about libertarian crap, where can they go?
Well, ca.lp.org. That's the foundational website. And then on all the different socials, California Libertarian Party, Libertarian Party California, LP of Cal, depending on your platform and format.
And do you write on those, like on Substack and stuff?
I don't, but there's a social media team that manages all of that. My personal Substack is lorendean.substack.com. It's called I Skipped Kindergarten.
Okay, interesting, cool, rock on. That's pretty rad. So anyway, check them out. This stuff's available wherever fine blogs are sold. And
totally free.
Before we go, one last shout out to all of our sponsors. Again, if you guys want to save 10% on the Wavemakers cruise, just please use the coupon code WARDRadio10. Also, please check out Scripture Notes. It's the coolest way to read your scriptures online. You can just go to www.scripturenotes.com, and there's also a link to a 14-day trial there. And we got a cool movie coming out, man. This Truth and Treason is going to be pretty rad. I'm going to actually be hopefully speaking with the director sometime soon. If you're interested in that and making a live stream out of that, please just let me know in the comments below before we go. Richard Stafford has one last super chat saying verse 32 calls out Nephi specifically. Awesome. Yeah, we're going to have to go check that out. If you guys want to support the channel, please make sure that you guys check out the War in Heaven veteran hats that are available in the merch store. Also, if hats don't do it for you, buy a shirt. There's both girl and boy shirts there available. If you're a person of means and you want to contribute directly to the show, please consider a generous contribution through Zelle or through Venmo, or hit us up on the Amazon wish list. We get these cool little Amazon papers that come with the packages, and people write us limericks. And if you purchase something on the Amazon wish list, you can actually put a limerick on the piece of paper that it comes on, and we will read it on screen as well. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun for this and more. Please make sure you check us out at wardradio.com.
I built a rocket in my basement. I'm gonna fly it to the moon.